everyone, and welcome to another episode of MAGA Cope, a special subset of Chud Watch that's a lot of fun. Usually it happens when something bad happens to Donald Trump. We had one recently when he was convicted of 34 different felonies in New York, and we got to see some pretty good cope out of that. Today, we have our old friend John Doyle, who's not doing well. His mask is on the floor, not even just off. The mask is on the floor. Not good, so we're gonna take a look today at that. Should be fun. Little scary and stressful as well, because as fashy people tend to do, his anger is directed outwards at people like you or me, anyone that isn't in his in-group, so he's pretty upsetty spaghetti. Should be good. So, let's get into it, shall we? If that button wants to work, there we go. Cool beans. Let's see, what did I miss in the chats? By the way, if you're on YouTube, do me a favor and give the stream a like. It really helps. Thank you. Paradona, thanks for 30 months. Much appreciated. And that, I think, is it. Cool beans. So, we can get into the John thing, but first someone sent what Cool Cat's up to, and apparently it's bad. This is from Derek Savage of Cool Cat Saves the Kids fame. And then we'll get into the John Doyle thing. This is like 3 minutes. Ugh. It's called Hood Rats for Trump. I need to remind you all, Derek Savage is an aggressively white guy. Just to be clear, Derek Savage is a white man. Lady Ann, thanks for 45 months, says, there's a 5th sub baby, and just before my 42nd birthday on Friday, can we name him Ford Perfect? That sounds great to me. Ford Perfect. I also like Hitchhiker's Guide. Jules Kersler, thanks for 30 months. Terradona, thanks for 100. Kicks off a hype train, 55% to level 1. Let's do the hype train with Derek Savage's newest nightmare.
Yo, 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 I'm Hood Rat, I got something to say. And listen up so we can all be clear.
Oh shit, sorry, you can't see that yet. Wrong tab is, being highlighted for you. Give me a sec. Try this again. Where is the window capture that I want? Not that one. This one? There we go. There it is. Again, Derek Savage is white. Puka, thanks for 500 bits towards the hype train.
Yo, 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 I'm Hood Rat, I got something to say.
I just also want to point out, this is the closest to blackface Derek felt he could get away with. Just want to point that out. He definitely thought at first, I'll wear blackface, and then went, I'm not supposed to do that. I'll wear a ski mask.
And listen up so we can all be clear.
I'm just gonna say, this is blackface in spirit at minimum. He's also wearing gloves. Like, come on! What are we doing? What are we doing, Derek? Overthought, thanks for gifting a sub. There he is!
There's a lot of crap coming down, and I'm telling you, I'm not down. I see my city falling apart. The streets are filthy with drug addicts nodding out. The price of gas is through the roof. The cost of food will strangle you. All the stores are closing down. Where do I go to buy some food? I'm sick and
What's the... Like, he's got a beat going behind this, but he's not really following it with any of the things he's saying. He's just kind of doing spoken word poetry. Bad spoken word poetry. Woo, Flower Sheeps, thanks for gifting a sub, 24% to level 2 on the hype train. Hello, Fire, thanks for a 15-stream streak. He sounds like a shitty cartoon. Yeah, I think that's an apt description.
tired of the politicians. Them
Yeah, that one specifically.
dirty people always be lying. Those Democrats say they're here to help us, but Hood Rat says they're here to hurt us. They come for our vote every 4 years. Then they disappear just like a roach. My eyes have changed and I'm seeing clearer. And Hood Rat is saying Donald Trump is the leader. Hood hood rat for Trump. Hood rat for Trump.
I'm torn between two very intense emotions. One is that this is, like, honestly disgusting. This is like one of the most, like, racist depiction. Like, this is just blackface. This is just blackface. It's like a shitty modern minstrel show. But on the other hand, it's so extreme and cringe to the point it feels like something the characters from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia would do. Like, I could see them having a discussion, like, we already had this blackface thing with Lethal Weapon 4, and they're like, no, it's not blackface, it's not paint, it's a ski mask, and then Charlie, you know what I mean? It's just the kind of stupid thing that you would write for a fictional, stupid, racist person. Oh. In honor of John Doyle's meltdown. Oh boy, let's see what this is real quick. Oh no. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to save that. Give me a sec so we can finish this first awful song. Paradona says he somehow has worse flow than Razzle Khan. Don't besmirch our queen! Bumble Homestead with 200 bits says because Republican policies, and especially Trump policies, have benefited poor people historically. A big old sarcasm.
When Trump was president, my pockets were fat. Now, with Biden, they're like a balloon going flat. Hood rat is riding with Donald J. Trump. It makes me feel free. When I became a man, I left the crack behind. Now Hood rat wants what's right for my family. I used to avoid politics, but now we got no choice. Those Democrats always pushing it on us. I'm feeling worried about World War III. It's Joe Biden's fault. He got us in this.
How did he not feel disgusting doing this terrible caricature of a voice? Tea Time Tea says, this is like what your 80-year-old grandpa would think is cool with YouTube. Givazoa says, this is what slam poetry is like in hell. 30 seconds on the hype train with 42% to level 2.
When Trump was president, I didn't like him. But now things have changed, and I really miss him. Hood rat for Trump. Hood rat for Trump. Now I'm closing this song, and I hope you got the message. Joe Biden has destroyed the economy, and we need Trump for president. Trump 2024. I'm Hood Rat, and I endorse this message. Yeah.
Well, that was fucking disgusting.
Yo.
Oh, it continues. Good. Rageology says, I'm half convinced that GTA 6 got delayed, because they've had to rewrite all the satire radio stations to keep up with the current level of this stuff.
Hood Rat, I hope you like my music. My producer, Derek Savage, has been real cool, so I want you to go out and buy his content. His new novel is powerful. Every woman needs his self-defense film. Yeah. For the kids, it's Cool Cat. And Cool Cat's the coolest. Hood Rat loves these movies. And the clothes are clean. Check it out at SavageOne.com or Cool Cat. Look.
Derek Savage didn't just produce this. This is his voice. The person doing this is Derek Savage. This is his voice. Can't you recognize his voice? I'm pretty sure that's him under the fucking thing, too. I think that's him physically. I could be wrong. Yeah, this is the Cool Cat guy.
LovesYou.com, or you come visit me at HoodRatRaps.com.
Jesus Christ, Eric. Well, that's just goddamn terrible. Oh my god. Oh, okay, let's take a look at this one. And then we'll do John Doyle. This is 2 minutes.
Can you hear the sound of a president who slept with a porn star while my wife was home?
I'm giving up on this one immediately. It's giving me jib-jab vibes. I don't like it. Radiology says the IRA has taken a real turn out of left field. Okay, let's do the John Doyle thing.
I'll tell you, the DMs have been flooded recently. The question on everybody's mind, John, how am I supposed to have a proper white boy summer knowing the emperor sits in chains? It's an excellent question, really. So I'm here to tell you everything is fine. No need to panic, but of course everyone's panicking. You know, what's going on? Is Trump a Zionist? What are we going to do? Is the second Trump administration even worth supporting? Is it even going to be effective? Is it over? What's the plan?
Is the hat gone? The hat, as much as I make the hat thing, guys, the hat was metaphorical. We don't have to always point out he's not literally wearing the hat. He meant it metaphorically in terms of support for Trump. It's fine.
Do I trust it? Why are so many people coming out against Trump? What do I always say? I will feed you, baby birds. You will know everything ever that is important to know. But before that, briefly, I want to illustrate why this election legitimately is our last patriot shot here. We need to understand the stakes. And I know that every election, you know, it's the one that really matters. Let me just throw a bunch of information at you really quick so that you can understand why this is actually our last chance. There's a very real window of opportunity we have to work with here. You may not like it, but this is nonetheless true. We are losing 2.5 million baby boomers every year. They're dying off, God bless them. And we really hate the boomers. I get it, okay? Regardless, these are our most reliable.
If there's one thing that us and John Doyle can agree with, it's boomers are pretty cringe.
Voters and donors, generally speaking. Another important fact is that the Democrats have not...
I guess I don't understand what John Doyle doesn't like about boomers, because the thing I don't like about boomers is often the regressive social attitudes. Also, they have a bad understanding of, like, how the world works, and, like, I don't know, they give bad advice about job interviews, and they generally don't know what it's like to live as a younger person these days. They assume everything is as easy as it was when they were kids financially. But what does he not like, right? They should be right up his alley. A lot of them are racist and homophobic. Seems weird.
Not won the majority of the white vote since Lyndon Johnson.
Majority of the white vote? Boy, John, why would that matter in specific?
1964, and despite decades and decades of outreach and hundreds of millions of dollars spent trying to figure out how to get non-white people to vote for a party that seeks to conserve a country and a culture that was built by Anglo-Saxons, it hasn't.
We gonna ignore slavery? We gonna ignore chattel slavery? Or, like, immigrants helping build the railroad, often in conditions that were slave-like, or at the very least weren't treated like human beings? No? Okay, cool. This image, I guess, is history. This painting is literally how history happened.
Hasn't been very successful, especially with immigrants, 90% of which are supporting Democrats, illegal aliens, 95% of which support Democrats. Why would they vote to conserve something that is alien to them? Good question. Why would they not instead just vote for free stuff, which is paid for by the tax dollars of...
The idea that people vote for Democrats for free stuff is hilarious, considering Democrats don't even really do that. Our social safety nets are still pretty shit. But having social safety nets isn't a bad thing. It's actually important to have a functioning society so people don't get trapped in cycles of poverty.
The Republican voter, another good question. So unsurprisingly, 85% of all votes cast for Republicans in 2022 were cast by white voters. In 2018, it was 88%, and when Trump won in 2016, it was 88%. This, of course, does not mean that you can't be a conservative if you aren't white. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that...
It kind of seems like you're saying that. It kind of seems like you're painting a broad brush that, like, non-white people are your political enemy, specifically because they don't, statistically agree with your particular views, which include not wanting non-white people in the country, as he'll get into later. Benekagami says, bits for the hour ride back to my job to clock out. Also, John, the Imperium of Man's Emperor has been dead for centuries and they've kept fascism going pretty well. I'm sure they'll be fine with your emperor just in prison or doing community service, unless Trumpism is weaker than the woke Imperium of Man, of course.
If 85% of my clients were consistently from Group A, and Group A is still a majority of the market, I probably would not want to neglect Group A. You know, and I asked ChatGPT even what it would do in this situation. It gave me a very racist answer, which I do not condone. But the point is that the vast majority of these 2.5 million baby boomers that we're losing each year are white. So the country is becoming less white. Younger generations are, by majority, non-white. And I'm not weird for pointing this out, by the way.
It's weird for you caring, right? Like, it's fine to be like, oh, that's an interesting statistic that the like, racial makeup of the country is changing because so much of American history has involved the racialization of people and those identities being weaponized against people who weren't perceived as white. So, like, that's an interesting sociological phenomenon to look at and see how it changes political and social structures and beliefs broadly within the United States. But to point at it like it's a problem, that is not only weird, it's just fucking racist. Like, yep, demographics change over time. Not a big deal. It's fine. Things change. That's life, man. Not a big deal. Discordant Vol says, bits from Mothman County. Thank you very much. Keep an eye out. Overthought with 100 bits says, like, a big reason Florida has been solid red is because the Cuban vote that tends to go right. Please push them left, John, please.
What's weird is that this is a decision that has been made and executed as a matter of policy for decades. Like, that's the weird part, in my opinion. What other
Jamie, thanks for 33 months.
countries does that happen to except other Western countries? But yeah, so year by year, we are getting fewer people who tend to support our ideas and more people who tend to not support our ideas. And we seem to be implicitly aware of this, even if we struggle to articulate it, since the issue that has defined the last 10 years of American politics has been the border. Us and them. There are fewer of us each year, and there are more of them each year. Even in
I find that incredible that he thinks that the only or primary issue of the last 10 years, which stretches back to 2014, is the border. The border's always been kind of an issue. I remember during the George W. Bush presidency, it being brought up pretty regularly, along with all the other stuff with the, you know, the Iraq war and Afghanistan and stuff. But I don't think it's been the primary issue unless you're an ethno-nationalist who is constantly anxious about the racial makeup of your country. So to John, it might appear that way. To John's audience, it might appear that way. But I don't think that that's a broadly true thing. Again, unless you're someone who is obsessed with the racial makeup of the country, which is a problem of your own making. That's a you problem. It's not a problem of the reality of the situation. That's a problem that you're a racist shit. Penikagami says, the white majority only went as long as it did because we kept expanding the definition of white. True. True.
2016, Trump only won because of like 80,000 votes between 3 states. And if you think it's just a matter of having the best idea as well, think back to those outreach efforts
Better hope that's not the case, otherwise you would have never won.
that we just mentioned. They haven't worked very well. And it's not like we have any institutional power to change the minds of these people, even assuming that's possible, which it probably isn't, frankly. And so as the country has become more diverse, you don't see landslide elections like you did in the 1970s and in the 1980s. And actually, if you look at the trends, the popular margins by which the winners are winning, and even the electoral college votes they receive, it's decreasing as time passes.
I don't understand why he's blaming immigrants for division politically within the United States. There's a lot of reasons for that. Partisan news sources like Fox News and like Sean Hannity and the dead guy, Rush Limbaugh, like back in the 90s have been seeding these ideas, these hyper-partisan like philosophies and views of the world to a certain segment of the population that puts them in effectively a bubble of an alternate reality. So yeah, I'd say it's more that than immigration. Rageology says, going on about how this is a last chance because the white populace shrinking can't be really read any other way than we need to stop democracy now because if this change is inevitable, then the Democratic vote shift is inevitable in the long term if Trump wins or not. He's very anti-democracy. He's stated that outright. But also in this video, he basically says that he wants Trump to do the biggest deportation effort in the history of humankind. So, that would be his solution. Maybe some kind of final solution. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, dog whistle. he's a fucking, you know exactly who John Doyle is. Believe him when he says who he is.
Likewise, in every election since 1960, when Republicans win, the trend line shows that we're winning by smaller margins, both in terms of the popular vote and the electoral college. So while right now we've got a pretty good chance of, going into 2024 winning, I'm not saying it's over. I'm simply saying we have a short window of time to work with here, and nobody else is really talking about this. Like, just imagine what happens if Democrats get back in 2024. You got Biden in for 4 years. In 2020, you get a solid 4 years of just letting these people pour into the country. 2025 rolls around, you're back in office. You make it a priority to give them amnesty. At that point, it's over. It's done. The Republican Party is obsolete. We now have a leftist party.
I think you already are, but...
Party and like a leftist light party, like every third world country. Well, that's what we all already have.
Did you know that you're a third world country, which is an outdated terminology anyway, if you don't have a hyper right-wing party? Genius.
I get that. Trust me. You have no idea how bad things could get, though. You would be begging for the chance to vote for like fucking Mitt Romney again. We will have millions and millions and millions of new voters. And just in terms of legal immigration, something like 3.5 million people, adults of voting age, have been naturalized since the 2020 election, according.
To be clear, John Doyle sees legal immigration as a problem. This isn't even something where he's dog whistling like, oh, I just care about law and order. Like, no, he's literally saying he just doesn't want anyone else in the country. Wild position. Discordant Vol says Zoomer Himmler is a lot less imposing than I thought he would be.
According to UC San Diego.
At least he doesn't have kids to kill off like Himmler did.
Something like that.
Wait, was that Himmler? Which one of the Nazi leadership killed their kids in the bunker? I don't remember. Nazis are fucked up. I don't know if you know that.
I don't know.
Fun fact. Nazis are monsters.
Online. But a third of those people are coming from Asia and then North and Central America, and then like 11% from Africa. So what that means is Indians, Chinese, Latin Americans, Somalians. Great. Yeah, I'd buy that for $1. You know what that looks like in a long enough time?
John Doyle referencing RoboCop? It was Goebbels. Thank you. It was Goebbels. You're right. Because I remember how he looks from that Downfall film.
Timeline. Somalians. Great. Yeah, I'd buy that for $1.
Again, what does John Doyle think I'm confused by what he thinks RoboCop is about, other than a robot cop.
You know what that looks like in a long enough time?
Racist Cop, the sequel to RoboCop 3. John's actually a big fan of Maniac Cop, but he roots for Maniac Cop.
Timeline. You look at the countries of origin and then you say, okay, if I keep bringing in people from this country, sooner or later, law of averages is going to kick in. My country is going to start to look more like their country. And that is exactly
the implication. I really hate this. The idea that somehow there's a, how do I put this? A quality that exists ephemerally within someone's perceived race that is the cause for the material conditions of a country that happens to be majority that perceived race. Like, does John genuinely believe, like, the state of certain countries globally that are developing or in not good, like, financial places are because of the racial makeup of the people who live there, and not because of historical inertia, not because of a lack of education or resources or historical realities of having their, like, local governments and stuff destroyed by colonialism and then being basically vassal states and colonies for centuries? Like, what? That's so ridiculous.
what has happened. You go into these areas and it's not white picket fences and apple pie. It looks like not America. And the problem with that is that America is pretty cool, right? Built by and for.
John, I know that you grew up in a wealthy suburb, but do you know what a lot of America looks like?
For Americans.
What an asshole.
So insofar as you want to change that or you support changing that, then you are an enemy to the American people and you will be going back. So we have
you noticed that in this video, John several times, John usually likes to keep aloof and sarcastic and like always stacked and protected with like, stacked with like 7 layers of irony surrounding him in order to hide how he really feels, because I think he feels that that distancing puts him above criticism or politics. It makes him right, but just being so uber confident that nothing matters to him. There are a few times in this video where I think that visage cracks a little bit, and you see through to how desperate and kind of like upset he is about how things are going. That's interesting. I find it a little telling. He's built his entire identity around Donald Trump. His entire show got popular off of being young Zoomer Donald Trump fan, who used to constantly wear the hat and make it a bigger part of the show. Now he talks about it, but his aesthetic is less overtly Trump. But I still think he knows on some level that this whole show that he does, catering to these far-right people, it can't remain the same. I'm not saying it's going to absolutely go away. I don't think it will. I just think that the era of the sort of openly popular Trump supporter really peaked in like 2017, 2018, and then everyone's gotten sick of it, so it's gotten pushed again further to the fringe. I think the future of John Doyle is basically looking like Diet Coke Nick Fuentes. Not quite as outright a Nazi, but basically the same, right? I don't know. I don't think the future looks very bright for him, to be honest. Discordant Vol says, hey, you know what really helps your country? Not being the center of several conflicts since the advent of modern warfare. Profane Priestess says, usually we call that kind of thing scientific racism. Makes sense.
We have to understand that what we understand to be American culture is something that comes very naturally to us because it is natural to us. You don't have to be taught it. It couldn't be taught.
Let's go back and listen to that again.
Want to change that, or you support changing that, then you are an enemy to the American people, and you will be going back. So we have to understand that what we understand to be American culture is something that comes very naturally to us because it is natural to us.
Again, he's acting as though there is some quality to whiteness, to his perceived identity of what an American is, and his view of American is a Christian white person. There's some innate, ephemeral quality that just makes you better, makes you more worthy or capable of living up to John's perceived American ideal. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, and frankly embarrassing that he believes that. That's really sad that he believes that. It makes me think that he really doesn't like himself or something, because how little do you have to think of yourself that you have to uplift your own self-image through a fiction of perceived goodness simply based on, like, the color of your skin? Very strange. Very, very not good.
You don't have to be taught it. It couldn't be taught. It sprouted from, as John Jay wrote in the Federalist Papers, you know, we hear so much about the Federalist Papers when it's about like ceding our birthright to gay race communists, but we seem to forget when John Jay wrote that Providence has been pleased to give this one connected country to one united people, a people descended from the same ancestors, speaking the same language, professing the same religion, attached to the same principles of government, very similar in their manners and customs. So true, John Jay. That's a great point. You know, I picked it up and I read it and I said, that's a great point. You wouldn't even believe the point. It's so great. Providence being key there. We will come back to that God wills the success of the American nation. But yeah, when someone has something like that of the...
Imagine looking at the old painting of Manifest Destiny and being like, yep, based. That's very real and not propaganda. Oh my god. I think this is literally used as an example in my AP World History class or something very similar to it as, like, propaganda from a certain era of American history, political commentary, and deciphering it. And he's like, yep, this is objective fact. We depicted our rampant destruction of First Nations as a pretty blonde lady, so, based? This is just the old-timey version of we made you the sad Wojak and we made us the Chad. Gitara says, I grew up in inner-city Detroit as a black man. John would be surprised that he and I grew up in two very different Americas. If he could look beyond this little bubble, he'd understand why people from my America are considered the enemy to his side of America.
Success of the American nation. But yeah, when someone...
Patriotic Americana was the term.
Someone has something like that of their own, It's kind of ridiculous, actually, to think that they could simply learn your culture and assimilate to that, like how you would learn a new dance or something. And they won't even learn your language. Not to mention, these people are all like incredibly low IQ, so they can't really keep track of all these different variables, which would kind of coalesce into what we understand to be a culture, American culture.
John's... How do I put this? John's pretentious self-perception as an intellectual is maddening, and I don't know if he knows it's embarrassing. Obviously, it's not to his audience, because they certainly believe it, but what are you gonna do? And yes, of course, just like racist IQ bullshit, saying that people from other countries are, you know, genetically something predisposed. Hate it. Hate all of it.
Or even develop an appreciation of it. Hey, show me where I'm wrong, by the way, and I will shut up. The point.
Okay, great. Did you know that, like, people who come to the country, even if English isn't their first language, if they have kids, English probably will be their first language? And to be clear, I don't give a shit about this stuff anyway. I don't really care if people speak English around me, especially in this day and age when fucking real-time translate is a thing. I don't really give a shit what language people are speaking. But if that is a concern of yours, by second and third generation, people are basically assimilated, and their culture has also been assimilated into the greater whole of American, like, pop culture, whatever you want to call it, especially of their local areas. That's why certain communities in America have, like, cultural roots that go back to, like, immigrants from specific areas. Like, Michigan has a lot of people from Germany or Poland. It just depends, you know? I don't know. It just feels ignorant on John's part, incredibly ignorant, that he doesn't understand that this is a cycle that's happened a lot. Different groups of immigrants from different countries have come to America at different times, and then those cultures and those peoples have become assimilated into the country, benefiting them and everyone in America. I don't get it. Just racism. I know the answer is just racism. It's just frustrating.
Point of all this being the stakes are high. They're as high as they've ever been. They would not be putting in the effort that they are to stop Trump if this weren't the case. They seem to know something that we don't. You know, you've already got red states going purple, purple states being solidified as blue. Remember California? Solid red state. Twice went for Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, but then after Reagan's amnesty in '86, it's been a solid blue state. The peak of Western civilization, reduced to favelas and feces in just a few decades. Texas, too. Texas is going purple. Can we afford that?
California is like the 6th or 9th, I don't remember, biggest economy in the world, separate from anything else in the United States. Other states keep sending them, like, their homeless population, so it becomes an issue. It's an issue that needs to be tackled, but certainly not any way John would deem fit. Lennon Cat says, I may be anecdotal, but every immigrant I've ever met loved America far more than any native-born American. To add to that anecdote, same.
Can we afford?
As it turns out, you don't usually go to a country because you fucking hate it. Generally.
To lose 40 reliable electoral votes? Can we afford to lose even a quarter of that? That's the future. That is what is at stake here. Amnesty for tens of millions of people for their children. We're legally importing millions of these people each year anyway, not to mention the tens of millions illegally, the children that they have, which you pay for. We're funding all these nonpartisan voter
This is just like Reagan welfare queen shit.
Outreach and registration programs. We're always entertaining some pathway to citizenship for these people. Foreign conscripts on the horizon. You know, you give these people military training and citizenship. That'll end well for patriots as it has historically. I mean, we've already...
John, why would you be concerned? What are you concerned about? Does the idea of a brown person with a gun scare you? Because you're very into guns. Why does that scare you? Do you project your hatred racially of other people outwards? So you assume that other people hate you because you're white?
Purged a lot of the patriots from the military with the mandatory shot and all the woke stuff, but they can't do this before 2020.
All the woke stuff. Did I add everyone on? I did. Okay.
Because they don't have the political capital to do so. But what happens when they buy themselves another 4 years? Then
Zytam says, I was adopted 58 years ago through the Lutheran Church. I recently got my adoption papers and my father had a requirement of no Polish or Irish. Yep. Discordant Vol says, want to know a secret? I don't mind collectively paying for someone's well-being. It's actually a goal.
all of a sudden,
What if we had a functional society? Doesn't that sound cool? But then people will get things, and I don't like those people. Grow up. Grow up, John.
all the people who could meaningfully oppose this stuff, well, now they're no longer politically relevant. You must understand, they have moved pieces into place that, if given the opportunity to execute upon, are going to be an absolute disaster for us. I mean, they could set us back decades in a matter of an afternoon with a few pen strokes. Why would they not do that, by the way? Why, you think they aren't aware of that possibility? We understand it, but they don't. You think they haven't been allowing for this exactly to happen, encouraging that exactly this should happen so that they can do, I mean, that's literally the plan. That would be total victory for them. That's what is at stake here. We don't have 4 more years to work with. Things are going to be extraordinarily more difficult if that ends up being the case. Reversing an amnesty, I mean, that's the whole point of this conviction.
That'd be literally impossible.
You know,
unless you wanted to go full fascist, which I just realized he does, so whatever.
Regime, one of the many anti-Trump ops being designed to kneecap his campaign, make it more difficult for him to get into
anti-Trump ops.
Office.
They tricked him into committing those goddamn felonies.
With the conviction itself, the details don't really matter. We're sort of
I feel like they matter a little, but if you don't want to get bogged down on them, I'm not going to get mad.
Beyond that, we're well past that part. If it didn't matter to the actual procedure, then I'm certainly not going to bore you, much less myself, with the...
Again, trying to delegitimize it. Hey, fun fact, it was fine. It went great, actually. Saying that they didn't have any care for, the details is just wrong? Incorrect. The idea that right-wing people have consistently been playing dumb, and maybe not playing in some cases, they put themselves in media bubbles like we all do, and maybe they just haven't heard, but they'll consistently be like, what were the additional crimes that upgraded these things to felonies? And it's like, you can look at them. They were given 3 options for 3 different crimes that he could have been in trying to obscure, and the jury thought he did. Chitara says, I'm trying to figure out what version of America John is even talking about. Americans have never been unified in our ideals and opinions in our entire history. He's talking about some fairy tale utopia where Americans get along and always 100% agree on every issue, and it's no surprise that those issues happen to exclusively be the same ones John cares about. I think John is a victim of falling for mythologized history. So I think he imagines, the era of the framers of the Constitution. I have 2 hydrates. Let me do them real quick. Anyway, what I was saying... I've lost my train. Oh, I think John, in his head, has kind of bought the mytho-historical civic religion almost of the United States' worship of the Founding Fathers and sort of that revolutionary era of history, and he has taken that mythologized version and just believes it. He believes imagery of, everyone in the country all agreed to fight the tyranny of the British, and there was no disagreement, and there was no, shades of gray or differing opinions. Just, I think he kind of buys a fantasy of what America was at a certain point, which isn't uncommon for conservatives. I think he just goes back a bit further than most. Some think of the 1950s, and to an extent he does too. We've seen the intro to his show, but he also does that for the Revolutionary period. They imagine a time where everyone was like them and agreed with them. The fantasy. No one in the history of the world has lived in a world full of people who only agree with them. Benekagami says, John's far-right politics have been destroying Florida's economy. Every 2 years they need to replace the sand on the beaches to create a buffer, and Ron defunded that program. This plus war with Disney is killing the tourist industry, and mass deportations have killed the construction industry. They also have a decent amount of agriculture with, orange groves and stuff in the state, which I imagine hurt on some of the immigration policies.
The details. When I supported Trump almost 10 years ago, I did so knowing that someday I may have to defend him for gunning someone down on Fifth Avenue. And so until we hit that ceiling, I don't really have any interest in business documents being mishandled or whatever. He's been found guilty on 30
falsification of business records in the pursuit of covering up a crime.
4 counts of being a great American patriot. Okay, so now the freaking Democrats want him to die in a jail cell. And everyone, the average GOP voter, they all know the score here, but you're allowed to be a Republican and get people to clap for tax cuts and the estate tax reform, whatever. You're not allowed to get single-handedly realign the party to make people basically allergic to everyone who is not likewise aligned with your vision and get hundreds of thousands of people to drive hours to your rallies, scream that they
I don't think he mentions Hunter in this.
Love you, fly your name in their front yard as a symbol of an American identity that is independent from the American state's betrayal of its own people. That is what you are not allowed to do. That's why Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, these guys are all freaking war criminals or whatever. Bush was literally Hitler, but now they're all hanging out together. They all get to
Bush is a war criminal. Yeah, those people should also probably be charged with various crimes. I don't disagree.
retire in luxury because they played the game.
Got convicted as a felon, and conservatives are still extremely upset about it. Yeah, I pulled some videos. I'm not sure how long the John Doyle thing will take. If it doesn't take the whole stream, I had some other videos. Republicans being upset about the Hunter Biden thing, claiming oh, this is just to make it look like the Trump trial wasn't rigged, and it's it wasn't rigged. Good. Fuck Hunter Biden.
At this stage, you're only prosecuted for crimes against the regime, basically, which is why Donald Trump is being prosecuted. Had Donald Trump not declared war on the regime, he would never have been prosecuted. Bill Clinton...
When you say declared war on the machine, do you mean be, the most hated, obvious asshole in the history of public discourse? I just want to put this out there. This maybe isn't a fair philosophy, but I think it is a truism of reality, and it's you thought you were going to be the biggest douchebag and antagonize everyone on the planet for years, and you thought nothing was going to happen to you? You thought you weren't going to get extra eyes on your business dealings? What I'm saying is, if you're going to be a big asshole and attract a bunch of attention, don't commit crimes while doing it.
For example, famously paid a woman almost $1 million to drop her sexual assault case against him. But because Donald Trump allegedly paid
Clinton is also a piece of shit. Fun fact.
A woman to not run her mouth about consensual sex, which she also signed a document saying never even happened. This is some impropriety, as if that would have actually influenced the election.
Thanks for following.
American voters didn't kind of have an expectation of what we were getting ourselves into when we decided to elect a billionaire TV star playboy who owns a supermodel pageant as our president. Not even to mention all the other things that the other side has done that are far worse. And I don't want to call out the
such as
hypocrisy, because that really only matters if we're in a position to do something about it besides just bitch. So until that happens, you may as well just write it all down, keep notes. But we will need it later. What is that this will help us in our journey later, whatever. And that's why locking them up, though, is very important, which Trump even acknowledged recently. He was naive to not do that because they're going to come after you anyway. It's not a matter of the precedent or the pendulum. Oh, what if this comes back to get me? When you're in a fight, you don't base your behavior based on what someone else may do or may not do. You do what you have to do to win the fight. And giving them the benefit of the doubt after they openly...
It depends on the kind of fight. I don't know. I'm going to sucker punch someone. Rageology says, no idea why the cinematic moment is playing over and over in my mind right now. Oh no, what is this?
Watch live and local
Sorry,
news
ad.
on a variety of networks with
Your friends.
There we go. Don't get paid till Friday, so my YouTube. Stop. Sorry if there's ads, briefly.
Cigarette smoke. Tell me, how's saying? That's for John Lennon, you Yankee fucking cunt. Bottle! Now don't bother.
Talk about doing it to you anyway? Are you a stupid person? And the even bigger problem is that they're actually the criminals and we're actually not. So it's not even that you care about the rule of law. You're just a coward because we're actually totally innocent and they're the bad guys. And you got to go after the leadership. That's what their organizing is, because otherwise they're just going to retreat, they're going to reinforce, and they're going to come right back after you. These people are not...
I find it a little surprising that John and people like him aren't better trying to prepare themselves for the inevitability of Trump no longer being in politics. And I don't mean about the crime thing. I don't necessarily think he's going to actually go to jail or anything. He may even win the election this year. I hope not. I'm going to go vote, and I hope you go vote and get as many people you can to go vote for Biden. But regardless, I guess I don't understand what he thinks the long-term goal is here, because even if Trump does win, he's an elderly man. He's going to die. It seems how do I put this? it seems like John's entire political vision of the world hinges on Donald Trump being alive for a very long time. And I don't think that's realistic. So shouldn't he and people sort of in the organization and trying to, you know, get grassroots movements going, shouldn't they be trying to pick out politicians that are sort of people that are Trumpian? I don't know. Just seems weird that he's still focusing so much on Trump. Seems a strategically poor move, but whatever. Chiba Hawk says, what about convicted felon Trump being a 78-year-old and probably expiring soon? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Not driven by principle or really even ideology. It's just purely resentment against you specifically. They believe that the only reason we're not all living in Imagine by John Lennon right now is basically because your heart is beating. But that aside, guilty on all counts, that's actually better for Trump because it helps his position that the whole thing was rigged from the start, which it was. Because if it were only half the counts, then it's like it implies that the jury was more measured than maybe they actually were.
Maybe he just actually was guilty of all 34 counts. Have you considered? Utara says, John keeps saying we in terms of crimes politicians commit. John, you aren't a politician, and you also aren't rich enough to commit these crimes. There is no we or them when we're commoners talking about left and right politicians. He needs to like... This is similar to the Trump strategy. He's basically doing the same thing Trump does by acting as though Trump is one of them, or that they are one of him. He's not a typical politician. He's a man of the people. And as Trump, you know, has said and, like, pushed throughout this entire thing, they're not coming after me. They're going through me to get to you. It's a rhetorical attempt to make any attack on Trump an attack on the identity of the Trump supporter, which has been very effective. Discordant Vol says, and people who will be trying to take his mantle like he was a saint, charging the podium, waving a sacred thigh bone or something.
And we expected this to happen. This was the writing on the wall with everything that they've been doing. I heard a week or so ago from Trump world that this is the outcome they were expecting. Now everyone wants to stay optimistic, but as of right now, he's stronger, he's better, he's got more support than ever, and he's also free and he can get back to campaigning, which is very important because when people are around Trump or see footage of Trump, they love him. Like, he inspires.
We know very different people.
That feeling in people. The only way that you can actually reliably get people to not like Trump is when you contain their exposure of him to being like The View or CNN or whatever. So it's advantageous to keep him locked down in New York City so he can't make people literally flock to him wherever he goes, which is what happens. So there's going to be negative press, but, you know, who cares? Doesn't matter. It does not affect reality. And this is just the same lesson that has been taught to these people in varying degrees and iterations for the last 9 years, which is that you cannot stop this guy. I mean, anything that you do to this guy, you're just going to make him more motivated, more driven, more powerful. Like, there's nothing you can do. I mean, that's why the entire campaign.
Then why are you concerned? Not a big deal then. You're welcome. Innocuous Blonde says, woo, just joining the John Doyle ridiculousness. What a cute shirt, Hannah. Hoping for a little more of your good magics for my next job interview, if you please, milady. It's a dress. It's very cute and comfy. And here are all my good vibes for your job interview. Good luck. Unstable Deadbeat, thanks for 11 months, says, in John's mind, he can say, we aren't criminals, not because he thinks his side doesn't do anything wrong, but because he thinks anything his side is doing is automatically right because it's his side doing it. Yeah, he thinks he can define away criminal. To him, criminal is not an objective term that means someone who has done something against the law. It is a rhetorical tool to use against your enemies.
Has to be anti-Trump specifically because the entire Democrat coalition can only be sustained by putting aside all of their competing and in many cases just straight up incompatible interests and being reminded, hey guys, the real problem that brings us all together is white people and America, and therefore Donald Trump, because they view Donald Trump to be an avatar for an America that they've tried to destroy. And American patriots view him to be that as well, because
Donald Trump is what America has ever been. I hope it is brutally destroyed and turns into something better. Deep Lord says, planning political futures based on the human life expectancy, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not mad about a massive imbalanced court. John has the world's smallest penis, and it gets smaller every June.
He is. I mean, they're not wrong about that. And they're even willing to endure a lower standard of living for that outcome, as long as it destroys what is great and what is ours, because they're just resentful. Like, we're playing chicken with somebody.
What is great and what is ours? Empty rhetoric that means nothing. Trying to impart some sense of ownership of the country, especially outside of non-white groups, for no reason other than you're an insecure baby. That's sad.
Who's driving under the influence. They're not going to swerve out of the way. They don't possess that instinct. And the leadership understands what's at stake with this election, and their behavior reflects that especially too. So we all need to understand that as well and make it our priority to unite behind Trump, support Trump, because they seem to understand something about him and his potential, which apparently a lot of us don't still. Remember, they're not even after Trump. They're after us, and
There's again that rhetorical tool. Not the only tool on screen. Heyo. Jaden says, every minute of listening to John Doyle is like scraping the insides of my ears with a metal toilet brush, a spew of truly the most negligent nonsense. He's a shadow, a lightless being, absorbing and taking the light from all around him and giving out nothing.
is just in the way. This is literally the case. You know, this squares so well with everything I've been saying for years and what I've been thinking about, particularly in the last few months or so, which you would know if I had simply posted the content. I have just this year produced something like 10, I just scrap. I don't know why I do this to myself. No one is happy. But anyways, people need to know how correct I am about literally everything, and it's a crime that they don't. But they are legitimately worried about an imminent second Trump administration. Because if Trump could really be contained, like...
I wonder if he scrapped content because he didn't like it, or because he realized after he recorded it that he crossed a line and it was too dog whistly even for YouTube.
He was in 2016. Why would they go to these lengths? Wouldn't it be better to just let him win, restore faith in elections and democracy, and then just handicap his presidency? So I've been saying this for a while, that the question with Trump 2.0 isn't so much if they can stop him before he gets into office. It's, can they stop him after he gets back into office? And there are very promising things happening in Trump world. I mean, you're not going to have some Rolodex of GOP careerists, swamp types, etc., just waiting to, tunnel their way into the administration, which certainly did not help in 2016. But until then, what did we win?
Shouldn't you criticize Trump for that? Trump picked the people in his cabinet and the people surrounding him and then continually fired them and said they were awful. That's on him.
Is it, over for Democrats who are just going to go nuts and just do nothing until November? No, but we can't control the actions of others. We can only control our response to it. So now is the time to rally behind President Trump and support him. And I don't know if it's because people just have short attention spans or they're too young to remember, sort of hidden in plain.
John was born in like 1999 or the year 2000.
Sight kind
I'm
of
not that much older than him, but still, what the fuck are you talking about?
thing, maybe.
How young do you think your audience are? If you think your audience is that young, what's even the point? They can't vote.
Look at how they're treating this guy. They've thrown just shy of like 100 charges at this guy. And then last week, the jury verdict comes back in his New York trial, and we learn that he's guilty or whatever. I guess
Guilty or whatever, 34 felonies, who even cares?
the campaign has raised like
99, thank you.
$200 million since then. Everywhere he goes, he's greeted like a king. So no matter what they do, it's not working, and people just love him more. But
Except when he gets booed. Guess it depends on what kind of king.
people are still pretty cynical on our side. I get it. A lot of them are just lying, but I understand the cynicism. There's no rule of law anymore. Some would say maybe there never was, but it's more like the law of rules, right? Which is that rules are made to be circumvented. If you want something, you figure out how to get it, figure out how.
That's a sick point of view, isn't it? The rules were made to be circumvented. If that's your point of view, fuck you. You're part of the reason things are so hard to deal with and we keep after making new rules.
How to maneuver
Asshole.
around the rules, because the knives are out. I mean, what's the next move? People have been trying to call that one for a while. Every grifter online was sharing articles like, man dies of virus. See, it's going to be a new plandemic. Every time some like random black criminal would get killed by police after producing a firearm. See, they're going to do another George Floyd. Relax. This is allowed to happen in 2020. The riots, all that. So that would be channeled against the incumbent president being Donald Trump. This is not allowed to happen now.
Again, I've talked about this before. It always surprises me because I don't like John Doyle. I think he's a terrible person. I think he's ignorant on a lot of things. I think he's pretentious. I think he's a douche. All sorts of shit. But I think he has a handle on rhetorical style. It's not a style that I enjoy what he does, but I do think he thinks about what he's doing. So it always throws me off when he just outright says conspiracy theories. Because this is going to sound so shitty. This is going to sound shitty. My brain intuitively thinks he's smarter than that. My brain doesn't connect the way he is with, like, someone who's obsessed with, like, them. And I know he is, because he thinks about stuff as, like, very black and white, and the deep state, and, like, you know, blocking every non-white person into one group and white people into another group. But, like, damn, it still throws me off when he thinks that world events are orchestrated by a unified group of people, like CC or any other, like, batshit conspiracy theorist I cover on Tinfoil Tuesday. He presents himself as smarter than that, even though he's not. It's a shame. Lennon Cat says, I love the fact that law and order people are always like, it's perfectly fine when we avoid the rules. They aren't meant for us. Insert the line about there being law that binds some and protects others and doesn't protect others. And you know.
You notice even fewer companies are displaying the pride stuff too. Like this month, they put out some advertisement on the day of one announcement, but it's not coding everything like it has been for the last few years. They're trying to minimize the capacity of their coalition to annoy normal Americans, at least for the next few
No, I think they don't want their employees to get shot up by insane MAGA people.
months. This is beneficial to them. Whereas last time, I mean, yeah, we had the pandemic, mail-in ballots, censorship, but not this time. You know, it's too easy now to make fun of the masks. People understand everything that they did. It was all based on hysteria and all like another.
No, I still have a mask that I would wear if I was in a crowded place with a bunch of people. I don't want to get sick.
One of those would do is just put pressure on the incumbent president, being Joe Biden, who when facing re-election soon does not exactly want that to happen. Not even to mention that the economy's in the toilet. The pandemic was effective at taking the tremendous booming Trump economy and putting it into the toilet, but now it's already there. 2020 also was still like censorship territory. That was before Elon Musk managed to recapture Twitter, which quite honestly is where all the information flows down from in terms of politics and news. So
not anymore. He kind of ruined it. I don't know, I'm sure plenty of people still use Twitter, but I never use it anymore except to post that I'm going live, and I get way fewer interactions than I used to on that. I've been thinking about starting an Instagram or something just because, again, the demographic that I, like, cater to just isn't on fucking Twitter anymore. Because it's dog shit.
for 2024, the lawfare against Trump was the plan. It was supposed to work. And not only has it not worked in the way that they would prefer it to, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're happy to lock him in a jail cell and throw away the key, but they did not anticipate that this would actually help Trump and make people angry at them. So is this like some big wake-up call for us? No, but you know, not everybody wakes up at the same time. Sometimes it takes some more effort. Sometimes it takes some more time. We've got some late bloomers out there. That's fine. You know, it's a good wake-up call for Americans who could get it and who could be useful to us, but who just haven't gotten there yet.
Useful to us, oh boy.
For whatever reason. So you've got the lawfare.
A little accidentally telling the way he phrased that, isn't it? They could be useful to us.
And then remember, on the other end, the primary campaigns, he's literally fighting a multi-front war. He's got Ron DeSantis, who's getting propped up by the media. He's got a huge war chest. Oh, this guy's Trump, but effective. Nikki Haley, all these other
Is DeSantis even running? I think didn't he drop out a while ago?
people, the law.
Or is he running a phantom campaign and I haven't noticed?
Fair, the primary campaigns, the persecution of family, the media coverage. Surely one of these has got to stump the Trump, right? You fool. You miscalculated. You can't stump the Trump. Now you have to go to Gitmo. That's what happens. You know, you let your Patriot point balance slip into the red. You're deemed an enemy to the great American nation, and then Kane has to choke slam you out of a helicopter. I've seen it 1,000 times. These people just don't learn. But for us, it's been an incredible journey, and it's not over. I mean, you can black pill when you're dead. In the meantime, we are going to make America great again, because consider what's at stake otherwise. I mean, what's the alternative option for us? But people don't care. People don't want to consider that. They only want to consider themselves. And so, as usual, there's a lot of counter signaling against President Trump. Wow, very bold. I think this guy's based. I mean, attacking the greatest enemy of the regime, but for your special reason, dude, that's like really based and red pilled. Hey, I mean, there's always a reason to counter signal Trump, right? There's always a reason to align yourself with the positions of the regime. You know, rationalize why afterwards. If you're at all counter signaling President Trump, you are my enemy. Do you understand?
Hey, fun fact, criticizing politicians, even ones you're going to vote for, is a good thing, actually. You just kind of, like, suck the dick of a political candidate and have a cult of personality, you're not going to be very effective.
Understand the situation that we're in? Do you understand the lingering threat of amnesty? 4 years to let them all pour in, just make them citizens by 2028, baby boomers dying off. We've lost 10 million. There goes our base. Now we'll have tens of millions of new Democrat voters, and then it's over. And it's really cute. Like, I get it. I find it endearing that you think withholding the vote from Republicans will make them finally take us seriously or whatever. Republicans will never take us seriously if we protest by not voting. You misunderstand the purpose of the Republican Party.
Oh, I'm excited to hear what he thinks the purpose of the Republican Party is. Moira Soma says the economy is, according to the numbers, at 55-year-old highs, but that's just a fact and Republicans don't like those. I think that's misleading, though, too. Markets are up. Wealth has consolidated. It has continued to consolidate. Many working-class people are struggling heavily because of the expenses of things. Their income hasn't kept up with inflation. So to say things are going great, I think, is misleading, and if you think they are, you might be in a fortunate position, and that's great for you, but you also gotta understand a lot of people are struggling. I don't think that's the direct fault of Biden, but, it is something you have to contend with rhetorically, because a lot of people are dumb and don't understand that the economy takes a while to adjust to things. A lot of the things that we're still dealing with are the result of, like, lockdowns and supply chain issues throughout COVID and the knock-on effects of that, but whatever.
The purpose of the Republican Party.
What I'm trying to say is, I guess, I just don't think it helps to be like, well, the number says things are going good. I think that alienates you from people who are not doing good, because plenty of people are not. I think you need to recognize a lot of people are struggling currently, despite whatever the fucking stock market says, because most people aren't bought into the stock market. But nonetheless, Trump will make things worse. Trump's policy decisions will be bad and hurt the economy. Lennon Cat says, learned about that today in 2021. If you removed the top 10%, the average wage was around $36,000 a year. Yep.
Party is not to represent us, it's to contain us. But if we can fill that party infrastructure with people who do want to represent us, well, now that's an interesting scenario. That's an interesting outcome, because their objective is not to win in the first place. But these people are spiritual leftists, and so they think, well, if the people can send a message by all uniting and using our voice, grow up. You're thinking like a child. You are thinking like a woman. We have a very, very temporary.
We know he's sexist. I feel like I need to point out, like, yep, that was sexist, but we know.
Window where we could seriously make some progress. After that, things are going to become much more difficult. As it stands now, yeah, we're nowhere near out of the woods. That's true. But there's at least a clear path, like, that's conceivably possible for us getting out of the woods, right? If we get another amnesty, that's the like, we're seeing the tree line, and then we step on a bear trap, and then the bear trap has AIDS, and the instructions to disarm it aren't written in English, and then the trigger was also like a mechanism to play music out of a built-in Bluetooth speaker. And now it's alerting other animals of our presence, and then they're going to come and kill us and eat us. But hey, I get it. There's always a reason to grift. Oh, Trump promoted the vaccine. Trump is a Zionist. The first one is old news. By
the way, if anyone needs that pointed out, he just compared immigrants to wild animals that will eat you.
Covered that.
You missed that.
100 times. The second one is also old news, but it's coming back in the wake of everything that's been going on between Israel and Palestine, because people are finding out about Zionism now for the first time, so it's the only toy they want to play with. And the thinking is basically that Trump is now a Zionist, therefore he won't put America first, because the interests of Israel will come before the interests of the United States, and so we have to not vote for Trump because we deserve candidates who will prioritize America. The problem with this is that Trump's position on this has been the same since 2015, and if anything, he's actually become less sympathetic to Israel and especially to Netanyahu, but it's a model for political change that is just incompatible.
I think everyone can agree, fuck Netanyahu.
With what Trump was actually able to accomplish in his first administration, like ignoring the tremendous economy that he sustained and the way that he single-handedly redefined our entire political processes. He also halved legal immigration. He decreased the...
I don't think he did that. I'm pretty sure COVID did that. Yeah, people crossing the border went down a lot during COVID.
Illegal invasion. He didn't start any new foreign conflicts, but what? He like relocated an embassy and took a picture at a wall, so you're describing him as equal to George Bush? Maybe the problem is more about execution. Trump's entire agenda could have been carried out through executive action, like every other president, most of whom had mechanically functional administrations. And as much as I love Trump, Talk to our guys who worked on the transition team. When it came time to make hires and Reince Priebus had a Rolodex of names, being chair of the RNC, that certainly didn't help the president, right? Like, these are personnel issues, and they have largely been accounted for and resolved. But okay, let's look back to 2016. It's all just repeating itself, but I'll entertain it. I've got a soft spot for you. In 2016, Trump was meeting with Netanyahu. He was speaking at AIPAC. He was getting $20 million from Sheldon Adelson. But now I have to hear that in 2024, Trump is a Zionist. Okay, so what changed? He's only gotten better on the issues. He's only improved his ability to execute on the issues for the American public.
You say having illegal or legal immigration in that time because I think it was the even creepier second one. Oh, I guess I didn't notice.
So if Trump's always been a Zionist, is all just repeating itself, but I'll entertain it. But right, Priebus had a picture at a wall. He did processes compatible with what Trump was in this because voice grow up every window. And now, yeah, we're nowhere near getting out of the woods. And then we step on English, and then and now it's there's always a reason to grift all the time between Israel and Palestine. Also old news, but it's coming.
Can't find it.
Of names, being chair of the RNC, that certainly didn't. When he got $20 million from Sheldon Adelson in 2016, now his widow wants to give even more of his money away to Trump, and suddenly that's a problem. At what dollar amount did that become a problem? What actually changed? The grift changed. I mean, it's really that simple. Oh, well, for the money, she might want Israel to annex the West Bank because that's what she said in an interview with New York Magazine one time, along with every other Zion.
Pew Pew says, aren't Republicans supposed to be pro-Zionism? Not if you go far right enough.
Who has ever
You go far right enough, it turns into Nazi shit, and they're very anti-Israel.
At any point given money to an American politician, and we know this is true. This is
the evangelical Christian stance on Israel is typically pro-Israel because they think Israel needs to exist as a state for the apocalypse to happen. I'm not joking. I'm sorry if you don't know that that's the basis for a lot of Republican support for Israel, but it is that they think the rapture as depicted in Revelation, they think that Israel needs to exist as a country for the end of the world to happen, and people vote based on that ideology, and that's why they support Israel. Not everyone. I'm evangelical Christians. That's why they support Israel. You didn't know that. I'm sorry to break it to you. John is not an evangelical. He's a Catholic nationalist, so he has different views.
The quid pro quo that's going down because an Israeli leftist publication published an op-ed about it. I'm a very smart person. These are things that I can trust. Damn, $100 million sold. Who cares? I thought it was going to be something like, but tone down the fire every libtard rhetoric, tone down the mass deportation rhetoric, but we simply don't concern ourselves with other conflicts in other countries for $100 million. Sounds good to this patriot. You know who else wants that to happen? Every Zionist and every Israeli, which is why there's like 1 million of them that have been there since 1967. Sorry, how does that matter to us? I don't really care about Israel. I don't really care about Palestine. And this is also cynical too, because if we were actually serious, we would be forcing the pro-Palestine issue as much as possible in leftist circles, especially at the expense of the current thing. What do you mean trans this, BLM that? There are literally children dying in Gaza right now. That coalition, like we said, it can be sustained if they're able to hold everything together, keep reminding everybody that the real enemy is Trump, America, husky white boys, etc. But by putting pressure on them, creating those divides, that could be very good for us. Moreover, we could be pushing back on actual neocons who are wrestling to make
leftists do like to fight each other. He with Goblin says, good morning, Hannah. It's a gorgeous frosty morning and I managed to scrape myself out of bed for 7 a.m. yoga class. Now that I'm all blessed out and zen, it's time to get mad at some chuds. All is in balance.
Main control of the party infrastructure. Hey, why didn't you care when Antifa were terrorizing white kids at college? Why did you not care about our ability to get to class and practice free speech? Why is it only when it's about Israel that you step in? I don't know if you've noticed this about leftists. They are extraordinarily neurotic people. It does not take much to get them to start eating each other, for rich donors to withhold money, whatever. The point being, if we wanted to be very effective and seize on these serious opportunities, we could be doing that right now with the Israel-Palestine conflict. That would make it harder for Democrats to stay in power, easier for our guys to get into power. But instead, people are only using it to attack Trump. Very interesting. The good news is that it doesn't matter if these people were relevant. You know, they wouldn't need to be eternally contrarian, sort of the nature of being in the ghetto. The reality of our situation Situation is that Donald Trump has had these positions on Israel for the last 10 years. Therefore, now in 2024, we can't support him. Okay, well, in 2016, his administration was incompetently staffed. Despite this, he still manages to significantly break free from the party orthodoxies on immigration and on foreign policy. He's improved drastically on the issues as a whole since then. He's preparing now to staff his administration with loyalists and also to fire every bureaucrat.
Imagine hearing that and thinking it's a good thing for any political candidate to staff their, like, cabinet with loyalists. It's not a term that should be used in politics positively.
Who is insufficiently loyal to his agenda, the Schedule F stuff, etc. But we're being told, well, this actually doesn't imply a better outcome for us for a second Trump administration. If you believe this, you're just like not gonna make it. I'm sorry this is all happening to you. It must be really confusing. For what it's worth, if I had it my way, you never would have been burdened by literacy in the first place. By the way, this is the same strategy that was run in 2015. None of this is new. You alienate the evangelical Christians, who are Trump's most reliable voting demographic, who he needs to win, by attacking Trump for being insufficiently socially conservative. That was the stuff you saw a month or so ago, where all of a sudden all these pro-life activists and talking heads are coming out attacking Trump for not taking a position which they themselves never took prior to Trump having facilitated the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which is a support for a federal abortion ban. But suddenly Trump is now the problem because he won't endorse that. And we're now directing that pressure towards Trump instead of towards red state governors who have the power to do that right now, that same thing.
Right, because they don't want that. They want it to be a thing nationally, so even people in blue states don't get the right to do that.
Very
Point? Shitty.
interesting. Same thing, putting pressure on Trump to take a position on Zionism that would offend evangelical Christians who, as I'm sure you know, are largely Zionists themselves, or that would offend the sensitivities of the rich Jewish donors who are now flocking to throw money at Trump because they're startled by all the sentiment that's been coming from the left in the last few months, and these people would prefer that that money stays in the hands of the left, or at the very least, doesn't end up in the hands of the Trump campaign? These people are all grifting. Oh, Trump is so controlled! Yet despite that, he halved illegal immigration, 50% decrease.
He did say, okay, I think it says legal.
Oh, controlled! Yet despite that, he halved illegal immigration.
He did say legal immigration. Whoever pointed that out earlier, holy shitballs.
50% decrease, and he didn't start any new wars in the Middle East. Interesting. He calls out Netanyahu publicly for betraying him after 2020, says he made a huge...
Actually, the whole, like, that all Jews will die thing, not necessarily. Certain people's idea of the rapture narrative includes, after the rapture, the remaining Jewish people converting to Christianity, as very offensively portrayed in the film and book Left Behind, film starring Kirk Cameron. Very offensively, they convert all the world's Jews to Christians. Pretty fucked up.
Huge mistake that he's not...
Evangelicals use Judaism and Jews as a tool politically all the time. It's really gross.
Not going to forget. Very interesting. Acknowledges that Israel's losing the PR war, says whatever's going on in Palestine, it's got to wrap up, it's got to stop. He's going to stop it. Interesting.
I kind of feel like the way he wants to stop it is not ideal for Palestine.
You know, this guy seems like he's in total lockstep with the whole Glass Iran crowd, which must be why all of those people were working overtime to stop him from becoming the nominee by propping up Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, all these other characters. Joe Biden is a Zionist. Look at his coalition. Look at what they've done to our country in just a few
Discordant Vol says because one rabbi named Jesus as the Messiah.
years. So why are these people only attacking Trump when he's not...
In the movie, I thought it was a group of, like, the world's most well-known rabbis or something. That's what I remember from the movie, at least.
Even the one in office right now. Seems like that would be helpful to the Biden campaign. Very interesting, because remember, that's the only thing that can sustain the Democrat coalition, pointing at that avatar of American identity and saying, hey, focus on him. He's the evil bad guy, remember? Whereas Trump is saying, attention, patriots, I'm going to expel every libtard from the government and conduct the largest deportation operation in American and possibly all of human history. But Trump's a Zionist. What does that mean? Explain that to me in your own words. I want to know what you think that means. I don't want to see some f***ing 4chan graphic from 2015 that my friends and I probably made in the first place. I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me what that means. You should honestly just drink gasoline at this point. Like, just commit to being...
Jesus.
A retard. Become who you are. Manifest destiny. Because clearly, I mean, you're just like torturing yourself with this sort of uncanny valley right now. Just commit to it. Go all the way there. After everything he's gone through in the last 10 years, he's now a convicted felon, and you won't give President Trump the benefit of the doubt. He hasn't earned that from you yet. He hasn't met your standard, but you gave it to what, the Free Palestine protesters who hate white people and who hate Israel because they think it practices white supremacy, because you thought that they could be red-pilled, that you could reach them as if the vector of their resentment could be directed anywhere but towards you. Yeah, drink up. $2.89 a gallon this morning. If you're counter-signaling Trump, you are my enemy. That's the line that's being drawn. Are you a loyal MAGA patriot or are you not? Recognize the stakes. There's no other option. We don't have time, as we discussed at the beginning. And ironically, Donald Trump is the only person presently speaking about how he could actually get more time, so to speak. And if not for him, do you think anybody else would be talking that way? He's talking about the largest mass deportation operation in the country's history. No. And nobody's completely beyond criticism. You may remember...
I don't mean to be a dick and bring this up and invoke Godwin's law, but I do want to point out that Hitler's final solution started as a plan to deport Jewish people from Germany. Not trying to... Again, I know, but I do feel the need to point out that the original plan for Hitler's final solution was to deport all of the Jewish people.
I was criticizing Trump in 2020 because he was doing things that were actively harming his chances of being reelected. He was being soft on the rioters. He said he was monitoring the situation. He balked on the National Guard, and that rightfully pissed off the base. And resultantly, fortification aside, we saw that his turnout was lower among key demographics. That's the cost of pandering, you know, when your chic advisors tell you to do so. That's a lesson he's now learned. But I was accused of grifting. I was accused of betraying the president for this. And there's always been grifts, such as the nature of politics. There's a lot of them right now. I think about how on Friday morning, Trump was sitting at the top of his skyscraper overlooking Central Park in his golden living room. He was drinking a Diet Coke, getting a taste of his old life back. You know, before all of this, he was doing some...
I also want to point out... Oh, no, never mind. Sorry.
He was golfing all the time, supermodel wife, friends with everybody cool. He sacrificed that lifestyle for this country. Any one of his critics right now would sell this country out for a whiff of that lifestyle. I know many of them personally. That is who they are. They don't actually care about any of this except for as a means to benefit themselves. I mean, what would they do if not for this? Like, this is all that they can do. And that's always been the thing, too, right? Like, they don't want to throw their reputation behind somebody. They're only focused on themselves. They want to be contrarian. They want to have their own little take or whatever. It's like, you're a coward. You have no spine. And no one, by the way...
You're a coward and don't have a spine because you have your own opinion that's different than mine? Instead, get in lockstep behind me. That's how I know you have a spine. What you doing, John? God damn, your audience must be dumb.
Way who's ever gone against Trump has survived. So thank you. You're now infected. You've got the curse. You've got the Trump curse, and you've got 7 months. We say bye-bye. And yeah, you know, we're not going to know how this all turns out until it's done. Fair enough. But we're talking about mass deportations, anti-white racism, all these things not as just like accessories, but as crucial, as central to the campaign and to the administration. Like, wake up and smell the roses. I said this on Twitter the other day. It is now illegal to counter-signal President Trump from this moment forward. If you do this, then we are going to do things to you that have never been done before. You need to recognize the stakes. You need to stop lying. It's not hard at all to define what improving the situation means. What a perfect society would look like, that's a separate discussion. But we know that right now...
Have that discussion. Do it, John.
Improving the situation means electing Donald Trump. Things have gotten much worse since Trump left office. They will be better once Trump is back in office. And it's not just that we will improve the immediate situation, but more importantly, we create opportunities for ourselves to further improve things which we otherwise would not have. This is our only lily pad right now. There's no other option. And funny enough, everyone complaining about Trump won't even deny that. People are addicted to blackpilling, though, which is a cope. But, you know, there's always something that can be done. But it's been over since 2020. Just like it was over since 2008, just like it was over since 1965, and since...
Terradona says, John, are you seriously considering a social credit system? I mean, he's a fascist, so... hats off. What my choice for what to wear? Cool.
1945 and since 1913 and since 1865 and 1789 and 1517, since 1453. You can play this game all day. It's a lot easier than figuring out a solution to the problems. I'll let you in on some good news, though. There's no omnipotent force that decides our destiny for us, other than God. When we say if
There's no omnipotent force that chooses our future for us, except the one that does. What does that even fucking mean? Does John literally believe in God, or does he use him as a rhetorical tool? I genuinely can't tell.
if God is for us, then who can be against us? That doesn't mean like, yeah, how could you align yourself against God? That's kind of problematic. No, it means no one can stand against us. They might agitate and demoralize and humiliate. Who cares? Who cares? Ultimately, there's nothing they can do. There has been no greater force for Christianity in the world than Western civilization. There has been no greater force in the world for history than Western civilization.
Oh boy, that's a statement.
When we decide that it's time for things to change, that is when they change. That is the way the world works. The American nation has been blessed with providence. We tamed a continent that was plagued with mass.
This is going to be racist towards First Nations people. Just warning.
Cult sacrifice and Mesoamerican corn demons, and we brought Christianity.
Don't shit talk he who walks behind the rose. Not okay.
God wills the success of the American nation. Don't overthink it. The incalculables are too great to know. There are more of them than you could ever imagine, let alone account for. Many times throughout history, people have been able to successfully reverse their circumstances by just absurd chance, just some opportunity presenting itself out of nowhere. And that doesn't expire. That's not something that can't happen anymore. That can easily happen. So in terms of our success, in terms of making enough progress to see some results in our lifetime, that could take 50 years or it could take 5 years. There's no way of knowing. But if you tell yourself, well, it's going to take 5 years, you've got a better chance of it being closer to that than 50. I mean, just look at where we were 10 years ago, just purely from a cultural standpoint. Look at now how much people are forced to just go along with because the left has been so successful. Now imagine that, except it's us making America.
I'm so curious what he thinks people are forced to go along with and how much of it is just stuff people are fine with, but he personally is upset about, and he thinks everyone feels the same way he does, so he thinks people are being forced. Lennon Cat says, I love when conservatives just admit to not overthinking about things. It's just admitting that their stances only make sense if you don't think about it. And Rageology says, we brought civilized things over, like witch burnings.
Great again. Wow, 15 million people just entered the country in the last 3 years. Damn, that's crazy. Bet if we put a bunch of our guys on it, we could send them all back like in half that time. We could send twice as back in the same time. It's literally just moving people around. They do that themselves already. I mean, how hard could it be? You ever play Puffle Roundup? Like, surely the mechanics can be translated.
Man, I wonder if 3 million times 2 has any specific dog whistle meaning.
Right? The bottom line is that people should not attack Trump because we need Trump to win. That's it. I know everyone wants to have their little take. I know, it's your turn to hold the take stick. Oh, go on. We all think you're really interesting. All that matters is who takes power in 2025. Is it Donald Trump or is it not? That's literally the only thing that matters right now. And here's the good news. When Trump's base is energized, we win. In 2020, there wasn't really energy. People were demoralized for various reasons, sort of a sign of the times. I was called a grifter for pointing those things out. Oh, well, was there energy in 20? I mean, I was energized. I was having a good time in 2020. Was it like 2016? No. Was it even close? And will this be even close? No, but it can be sufficient, right? Like nothing will ever be like 2016.
John's gonna spend the rest of his life chasing the high of the 2016 election. And that's really depressing. That's a shame.
Because the circumstances of that will just never come back, which is good. We're making progress. We don't necessarily want the circumstances to go back to how they were. It's like you'll never play another game of kickball with the kids in your neighborhood, right? Time passes, things happen. It can never be recreated. You'd have to force it, and even then it wouldn't be the same. That's fine.
You're literally trying to do that, John. You're trying to recreate some fictive, imagined time in your head and force it on the world. That's literally what you're doing.
Things change, time passes. We're here now. These are our circumstances, and they're different. But things are looking very good for us right now. Plus, we're up with all these fancy new demographics. We don't even need them necessarily to win, but we happen to be getting them anyway, and that's good. That's what happens when you don't pander and corrupt the integrity of your and coherence of your campaign. People will flock to it that way, I think. Not by majority, but a decent amount. This is also a good opportunity to wake our guys up. Being a normie, like being anything, exists with a sort of distribution, right? Most people will never wake up. Some people, it takes a little push. Some people, a bigger push. The point is that every 4 years, we do have a sort of window of opportunity to get all of our guys to wake up. Guys of all ages, and this time especially, we'll say it's a good opportunity for those to wake up who have been distracted by looting the empire. You know, guys too focused on, what, making something of themselves, being successful, cringe. You need to be on Twitter 12 hours a day. You need to be
You have a link, I hate Twitch times 2?
on your phone all day like me, you f***ing slave. But I mean, like, can you fault them? Like, think about it. You grow up in America, you don't know any better. Yeah, you're going to want to get out and hit the ground running. Secure your fortune, right? The party never ends. But when you realize sort of what's going on, what these people are doing to your country, a country that you love, a country that has afforded you and your family with so much, well, now things are a little bit different. Now it's a different dynamic. Now people are going to emerge sort of from the woodwork, increasingly so, as they've already done. I mean, that's basically what happened with Donald Trump, right? That's what's going to happen with the young men attending college when they can't get jobs, but their enriched classmates can. That's the mass frat boy awakening that we might discuss soon. The true natural conservatives, our true greatest ally, the frat boys.
I don't think he's wrong, but I am disgusted.
And it is a chilling dynamic, though, when you think about it. Like, oh, they crossed the Rubicon. That was crossed long ago. We're way beyond that. Donald Trump has to drain the swamp, or else he will literally die trying. He has to blow a hole in the dam. They want to put him in prison. They want him to die in prison.
Radiology says, thank God you're here, Hannah, because this guy had just become white noise to me now. He's almost done. He's almost done. There's only like 3 minutes left in this video. Then we'll move on to something else.
They want to go after his family. Remember, he could have cut, by the way, a deal with these people at any point. They'd have left him alone if he just agreed to simply retire from politics. But now it's too
I don't think that's true. They keep saying that.
late. They have to send a message. Trump couldn't do it. Look what we did to him. Shut up and know your place. We're in charge. So there's no longer a separation between his personal destiny and his political destiny. Maybe there never was, but it's definitely off the table now. If Trump succeeds personally, he will have succeeded politically. If he can pull this off, he will be the greatest American probably since George Washington. I implore you, yet again, consider the stakes. This is Trump's last election. We know that. We're not getting another Donald Trump anytime soon. This is like a
We can only hope.
once-in-a-lifetime kind of figure. But if Trump can do a good enough job, then we'll be in a pretty good position to navigate things from there. And Democrats know this. Democrats understand that if what has to happen happens, they're going to be prosecuted just like Trump was. I mean, these people will go to prison. So just as Trump's political interests have now become personal, theirs also have become interwoven with each other. You know, the Democrats, it's the same thing, the deep state, whatever. They
The deep state.
understand what's
Again, he's got the brain worms.
on the line. Things have gone too far. They cannot continue this way. There's no going back. I mean, hey, you wanted to live in interesting times, right? This is what you asked for. Things just had to happen. The knives are out. So the question is just what's going to happen next. I know what happens next. I know what happens next. We make America great again. It's all there in the Constitution. Have you read it? It's everything we need to do. It's right there. It's on the books. Talk about the rule of law. Nobody's a bigger fan of the rule of law than me. Nobody.
He literally earlier talked about how rules were meant to be circumvented. He literally said that.
Cherishes the rule of law like I do, but that's the kicker, right? It's all there. It's all on the books. We just need somebody with the willpower to do what needs to be done. We've been playing chicken for decades with a drunk driver, you know, always swerving, always cucking, right? What are you, crazy? You're going to hit somebody. Yeah, they are. So the only way through is forward, because otherwise your opportunities to swerve out of the way aren't even going to exist anymore.
That metaphor doesn't even make sense. In no version of reality would hitting a drunk driver be an ideal situation for anyone in that scenario. What a terrible metaphor.
Steering wheel, it will lock up on you since you didn't pay your subscription for it or something. You've exhausted your mileage limit, right? And then it's just over for you. And you know, we don't like that. We don't want it to be over for you. We don't like losers. We like winners. We like winners. We like loyal and real MAGA patriots. So simply choose to be that. Hey guys, if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up, leave it a comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so that you are notified in the event that I post content, which is frequent and regular. Everyone's like, you're not posting content. The CIA, Mossad, MI6, all of these intelligence agencies have this coalesced mission to prevent me from letting you know how correct I am about things all of the time. So it's very inconsiderate for you to even say that. And also share the video with a friend. That's your penance. I'll forgive you for saying such things if you share the video with a friend. We will be square. Everything will be fine. It's like it never happened. Hey, water under the bridge, right? All right. Thank you, Patriots. Thank you so much for watching. May God bless America.
I'm gonna go use the bathroom while I do, and before we get on to the next thing, do me a favor and hang out, and Chair will tell you all about the Herschel Gordon Lewis feast. Be right back. They've returned. Hello. Okay, let's see what we are doing next. Pull up other tabs. I feel like a lot of you don't like Cataspinda, so we maybe should save that for another day. She's talking about Trump, but I don't know how far into this we'll get, but some people find it funny to look at Terrence getting upset.
Step into Wix Studio, the platform for
Goddamn
agencies and
ads.
enterprises, and turn website layouts into an
Let's see how Terrence is doing. We already watched one of his videos since Trump got convicted. Here's another one. He's still upset.
I'm fed up with the Republican Party. I need everybody to send this message to the House GOP.
Looking forward to you balancing the TNG box set on the mic arm one day. Let's see. I'll do it later.
Send this
In the middle of a thing.
to the Senate GOP. Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, what the hell are y'all doing? Y'all sitting back like a bunch of cowards. Y'all.
I mean, they already voiced how they don't like it. What do you want them to do? Do I not have an ad block? No, I normally have YouTube Premium, but I don't get paid till Friday, so I wasn't able to pay for it. YouTube, like, ad blockers tend to fuck up YouTube now.
Y'all sitting back like y'all don't have a damn spine. Stand the hell up for us. Stand up for Trump.
Oh, also, this is basically a pancake ad. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it.
Y'all begged this man for his endorsements. Y'all begged this man to help y'all win. Y'all begged us to help y'all win. Then you get in office and you don't do a damn thing to stand up for Trump. You don't do a damn thing to stand up for America.
Isn't this guy supposed to be a comedian? Yes, this is supposed to be funny.
For us. Y'all sit there and let the damn Democrats run y'all over. Y'all sit there like a bunch of wussies and let the Democrats run.
He's using outrage to sell pancake mix or maple syrup. Both. The hat he's wearing that kind of looks like a Trump hat but says Cousin T's. That's his brand of maple syrup and pancake mix, waffle mix, whatever, that he started grifting on after Aunt Jemima changed their bottles and stuff, or changed their boxes to no longer, you know, have the mammy imagery. So he grifts to right-wingers and is like, you want to buy pancake mix with a black person on the box? Buy mine. It's really fucking weird. How much is YouTube Premium these days per month? I think $10 or so, something like that.
On us over.
Not sure off the top of my head. It auto pulls out, but I'm in the negative till Friday. So.
What are y'all in office for? Huh? Why are y'all not fighting back? I warned y'all to stand up. I told y'all to stand up for Trump, or else you will be voted out. I'm telling you now, if y'all don't stand up right now and fight for him and fight for us and stop letting these Democrats run y'all over and run us over, all of y'all are done. Done. You will not be reelected. I can bet you that. You don't fight for us, we're not going to fight for you. Okay? 1 + 1 = 2. This is how this goes, okay? It is so sickening to see y'all sit back and allow these Democrats to do President Trump like this.
A jury of his peers did President Trump like this.
Y'all could have stepped in. Don't say, oh, we couldn't have done anything. Yes.
What do you think they could have done? I'm genuinely confused how Terrence thinks the federal government works.
You could have.
What do you think the Speaker of the House can do to step in on a state crime?
Stop playing by the rules. Put the whatever handbook of rules you've been looking at, throw it in the fire. Burn it up. No more playing by the rules. No, you cannot play by the rules when they are not playing by the rules. It is time to play filth.
He's using 1 × 1 = 2 math. Oh, that's a different Terrence.
It is time to play dirty, slimy. Get down and dirty with these Democrats. They are trying to put Donald Trump in prison. They are trying to put the Republican candidate, our candidate, in the penitentiary.
Have you considered nominating a non-criminal?
And
probably help.
What are y'all going to do? Sit back and make posts on social media? Or are y'all going to do something about it? Go after these Democrats. Show them that too can play this game. Okay?
No, he's probably not going to go to jail.
I don't care about playing by the rules.
Though it would be funny. I don't think he will.
Play dirty. Because if they see you going after them, like they're going after Trump, they will fall back. They convicted President Trump of 34 made-up felonies.
I mean, all felonies are made up. Laws are a social thing. They're like a social construct, but like, whatever.
The Democrats have been committing crimes for the longest.
Like what? Name some. Name specific people and what crimes they committed and what evidence you have of those crimes.
They are the true criminals. And y'all are not going to instruct these Republican prosecutors to go after the Democrats?
For what? Again, you have to have, like, a reason. Do they not get this? Of course they don't, because in their mind there wasn't a reason for Trump, so they think they can just do it, not realizing that there was an actual, like, crime here, and that's why they were able to prosecute Trump successfully.
It's time for the Republican judges to play dirty like the liberal judges. It is time for the Republican prosecutors to play dirty like the Democrat prosecutors. This is simple. Stand up and do something. Or else your political career is over after everything Trump has done for this country. This man literally was in office for 4 years and donated his entire damn salary. just to show us that he was not in it for the money, that he was in it to protect and save America and make this.
Donald Trump made more money as the president than any previous president, and he did so by getting people to spend money at his properties, federal money, illegally at his properties.
Country great again. Gave up his luxury lifestyle to fight for this damn country.
Ben Kagami says, imagine if Trump had to do community service instead of prison. Imagine the humiliation he'd feel if he had to work a soup kitchen and feed homeless people personally and do real work for once in his life. Unfortunately, if you're rich enough, like, public service can, or like public community service can be like, I did a PSA. I went and I talked to some people.
To try to save us.
Community service can be different than when you're rich if you're poor. Just putting it out there.
Save this country from these corrupt-ass Democrats. And we sitting there playing nice when they up here playing dirty. They have crossed every damn line. They have crossed every boundary.
Eyes up here.
Oh,
It's called a
goddamn
blue bill
ads.
picture. Let me tell you about it.
Anyway. So that's how Terrence is doing. It's trying to sell pancake mix with freakout videos. So pretty good. Doing pretty good. Oh no. Sorry, this isn't gonna be fun. I apologize.
Just world, I'd play Mr. Producer one more time. In a fair and just world.
It is a banger.
But we don't live in a fair and a just
Rachology, thank you for the $20 tip. I appreciate it.
world, and that's the whole fucking point of this emergency meeting.
Whoa!
And now you can't play it again,
Whoa,
because then you'd be
Tristan.
indicating that we don't live in a fair and a just.
Do you want your conspiracy theory hat?
No, I'm keeping this hat on.
Well, I'm going to put this hat on for you. Tell us why you don't think we live in a fair and just world. Because the court with the law said...
Oh, the court with the law?
Yeah.
That's incredibly interesting. The court with the law.
Aren't you all thrilled to hear what these alleged sex traffickers have to say about another person's felony convictions?
Because isn't that supposed to be like super real? Like if they find you guilty, you're guilty of something.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. So he's guilty. So obviously
He is, yep.
he should go to jail forever and not be president.
Guilty of what? 13 years ago, paying some money to some girl he banged to not talk about it.
No, it was actually for using campaign funds illegally to try and silence someone. So that's cool. Cool beans.
Like every billionaire does.
Whoa!
Well, a lot of rich people do it, so that's okay then. Is that how that works?
Because, I mean, he tends to, I mean, let's say he's a billionaire, right? And he has sex with adult women. And because he doesn't want these adult women talking about them, he pays the money and says, look, be quiet about our relationships. Yeah, cool. Allegedly. Now, what he should do to stay out of jail is just, you know, have sex with children on an island with other billionaires and then murder the children when you're done, because those people never go to jail. So I think it was a technique issue more so than anything else.
So you're saying if he had sex on a pedophile island, he wouldn't be going to jail?
No, if he was getting, you know, if there was photos of him of 14-year-old girls massaging his back on the plane of someone called Jeffrey Epstein, and if his name was, I don't know,
Trump was good friends with Epstein. Like, don't understand the point here. Do they not know that Trump was friends with Epstein and actively did do things with him? Or they just think their audience is stupid? They're probably not wrong on that one. J. Rodimus with a link says... says him putting the hat on.
There. Sure glad I don't look stupid in this.
Gitara says, Hannah, I'm like 80% sure that Andrew says the N-word hard R in this video. You know, I'm kind of already annoyed by him anyway, so we can watch something else. Just know, Andrew Tate, being a big douche. Surprise. Phraseology says, A, Epstein did go to jail, plus I don't think you need to be giving him any ideas, guys. Jaden says, it's the latter. They wanted to be friends with Epstein. Ugh.
Donald Trump has been found guilty in what he calls his show trial, or his rigged trial.
And no one has ever called their guilty verdict a hoax before. Don't you know everyone in here's innocent? Was the joke in Shawshank Redemption? It's a pretty common trope. Undisabled Deadbeat says, Hannah's the hero we need, not the one we deserve, for ending that video. You know, when I gathered videos for today, I pulled that up and I was like, oh, we haven't looked at Andrew Tate in a while. And I remembered why. He's incredibly insufferable.
And many
even
are
by the standards of this show, which, you know.
Convinced that the justice system, along with all the other components of government, are so thoroughly corrupt as to be beyond redemption, and that the system has made sure that they know that we know, but they simply don't care.
Oh boy, accelerationism. Fun. Unstable Deadbeat says, Hannah is... Oh, I just read that. Profane Priestess says, yes, the man who self-admitted he was friends with Epstein, who's famous for, perving on his beauty pageant contestants and said he wants to bang his own daughter, is above suspicion for sex crimes. Also, he wished Ghislaine Maxwell, like, luck and well wishes after she was arrested for the Epstein stuff.
And when a population...
No, this isn't Call. This is someone named Black Pigeon Speaks.
...loses faith in its institutions that manage the society, well, that society will no longer function. And they know that. And again, they simply do not care. There's a lot of talk about secession and civil war in the United States.
Good luck with that.
So much so that even Hollywood has gotten into the fray with the recently released film Civil War.
I haven't seen it yet, but my understanding is the themes of Civil War have more to do with the importance of photojournalism than any specific commentary on America's current political situation, but I haven't seen it yet, so...
But how likely is such a scenario? Well, there was a poll released very recently that came to some very startling results. Half of Americans expect a second U.S. Civil War within years. More than 40% with the Great Replacement Theory, which we are told, of course, via the mainstream media, Wikipedia, and social media companies, well, it's just a conspiracy theory. But also that nearly a fifth, well, they would choose to bring a gun to a violent political row. Moreover, more than 40% of Americans favor a strong leader over democracy and adhere to the belief that an immigrant takeover in the United States is happening.
From the Daily Mail.
Now.
Is it? It says felixrex.net. Or it was just a... What do you mean it was a poll? Oh, okay, say. By James Reynolds, social affairs correspondent for dailymail.com. Oh, boy.
Now, before we take a look at the larger macro problems in the world and their associated white pills on how things can get better, let's talk about what you can do for yourself and your well-being on a personal level, and most importantly, over all things, is your health.
Scam supplements, go!
It's no secret that the US government is not only bought and paid for, but is also highly corrupt, as we shall see in this video. So I'd like to ask you, have you heard about the FDA's attempt at controlling the powerful supplement NMN?
The supplement industry is rife with scams because it's unregulated. It needs to be regulated. It's such a goddamn grift. Unless you want to buy the bone broth. You gotta buy the bone broth. Your brain, the CIA's coming in with the 5G waves, and it's gonna make you lethargic. And you need to get the bone broth like your caveman ancestors. You can stick it to the deep state. You fall for this shit, you're a fucking idiot. It's just people being mad about their material conditions and blaming it on scapegoats and people selling them powders and gold. And it's just a rabbit hole that never ends. I just keep falling forever.
Word is the sale of MNN could be coming to an abrupt end very soon, with plans to reclassify it from a supplement to a drug.
Trey says, I'm really into military and warfare stuff in my free time, and I can guarantee you the infrastructure is not in place for anyone not suicidal to try a civil war. No. When people say that they think there's going to be another civil war, for whatever reason, I think they picture, like, the first American Civil War. No. Other people have said this, but it would be closer to something like the Troubles in Ireland. It would be small groups of, like, militant extremists taking pot shots and blowing things up and trying to not randomly, but strategically hit things they think would help their cause. Basically just acting out and doing a bunch of shit. It would be shitty. They wouldn't win, but they would hurt a lot of people, and it wouldn't be great.
And thus corner the market and take away access to this supplement from you. With supplies potentially
Every time I think he can't get a whiter woman on the screen, he does.
being cut off, now is the time.
Yeah, domestic terrorism, basically. Just much more regular domestic terrorism that's more organized by groups and militias.
To secure yours. So what is it? Well, several studies, including from Harvard University, have shown that MNN supplementation has been shown to provide numerous health benefits, including improved energy, endurance, strength, enhancing your metabolism, vascular.
Okay, it's funny to shit talk the scam ad, but I'm just gonna skip.
Thought were researchers at the University of California, Davis uncovered what they thought were worrying levels of alienation from and mistrust of American democratic society and its institutions. In their recently conducted survey of 8,620 adults across the country, well, whatever the validity of their poll, what is clear is that there are serious and massive polarization forces currently ripping the United States apart from within. While Joe Biden calls America a beacon for the world, what he absolutely misses is that in reality, it is an empire in steep decline. America is a country now marked with Venezuela-tier elections, a
Your guy not winning doesn't make the election fake. Kagami says, the scams in the supplement industry is a problem for doctors too. Many times they try to recommend vitamins to help patients, but it's hard for anyone to know what to buy because no one knows what's in the bottle.
corrupt judiciary, a bought and paid for government, institutional backing of lawlessness, growing and visible poverty, as well as studies showing an unprecedented collapse.
The phrase visible there is interesting, as if poverty's only a problem if you're forced to see it and not from the perspective of someone who actually experiences it. Like, you're upset you see someone on the corner asking for money. You're not upset that they have to do that. That's interesting.
Of societal conditions within the United States. Or, if I can put it more simply, a lot of people believe that the nation is headed toward a failed state, and not only that, but that America is a failed experiment that is teetering on the brink of civil war. What is true is that when using the common metrics that political scientists use to determine the signs of a failing state, well, the US checks many of those boxes. In fact, studies have shown that much of the illusion of democracy is just that, an illusion. So about this study, well, after a rigorous analysis of voting from 1982 until 2002, a study entitled Testing Theories of American Politics, Elite Interest Groups, and Average Citizens, well, this study showed that the preferences of the top 10% of Americans routinely trumped those of the average voter. Moreover,
and you can point that out and talk about how the system prioritizes the wealthy and donors. Trump isn't a solution to that. Trump is a symptom of that system. Ah! This is frustrating.
That the bedrock white-black narrative of America misses the point. In America, things do not only relate to racial issues, but especially ones of class. And that more and more people, no matter their race, are finding life harder and harder and harder. Poverty is accelerating, civil discourse is breaking down, social cohesion has evaporated. Americans have become extremely complacent to the idea that their current living arrangements are the norm rather than the exception, and the elites, for their part, believe that any manner of social or economic trauma can be publicly ghosted or ignored by the sheer inertia of American power. Power that many suggest is now running on fumes. Looking internationally, there was the complete and total humiliation in Afghanistan with the abandonment of $80 billion in military equipment, combined with the ongoing failure in Ukraine and the inability to curb either
The fact that Ukraine wasn't taken over immediately is incredible. What are
Russia
you
or
talking about?
China. And for that matter, just this week, China has surrounded the island of Taiwan with little to no response from the US Navy. In the country itself, well, there's the usual domestic summer rioting season coming up to a presidential election that is germinated and magnified with glee by the mainstream media, a media that has completely lost all credibility with those that it is paid to influence. There is the complete loss of control in American cities that sees weekly orgies of violence.
Orgies of violence. Murder rates are down. Senekagami says, Pigeon, you are a gutless loser who ran away from America to Japan years ago because fascists like you fetishize Japanese. You have no idea what's going on in America. A lot of the polarization here is the result of right-wing media, so brain poisoning their audience, it's becoming impossible for them to have conversations with anyone outside of the echo chamber. Isn't it funny when right-wingers who aren't even in the United States talk about it very confidently?
That makes them resemble war zones rather than neighborhoods in a first world nation.
This is an economic problem. This is people who were fucking abandoned by the system. This is not people destroying their own homes. It's neglect. It's lack of opportunity. Holy shit. Okay, I'm done with this guy too. He's even dumber than Doyle. Here's Newsmax claiming that Hunter Biden's conviction is just a smokescreen.
Stephen Miller here,
Oh God, Stephen Miller. The ads I'm getting. Profane Priestess says Ukraine has not been a failure. Russia has ruined its international reputation and its economy, as well as almost all of the military surpluses they had left from the Cold War. From a cynical perspective, America's return on investment in Ukraine has been excellent. I would agree.
President of America First Legal. Foreigners in the United States who support terrorism must be deported.
Wow. He's fucking scary.
Hunter Biden is a convicted felon. Hunter, the convicted felon Biden. Today...
They're so salty about the Trump thing. Correct. Hunter Biden is a convicted felon. You are correct. Just like Trump.
A jury of his peers.
Wait, I thought you guys liked convicted felons now. What happened?
Found him guilty on 3 federal gun charges in the state of Delaware, where the Biden family knows some people, all related to lying on a federal gun application while he was a drug addict. No sentencing date has yet been set, but he faces...
Oh, I know Miller's a white supremacist. You could tell by what he said in the ad. The implication that, like, immigrants largely support terrorist action.
A maximum of 25 years in prison, which is highly unlikely, of course, and fines, too, hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is only shocking because America has become so accustomed to the so-called justice system not doing its job, at
So you're mad that it did?
least not doing it properly. We should not be applauding the system for finally ruling on a real evidence and a real case and a real crime. This does not prove that the justice system is somehow now unilaterally fair and balanced, not by a long shot. But of course, the left today was quick to set that false narrative.
I mean, you can't really have it both ways. I don't know what to tell you. You're the hypocrite.
I do think that this is a really good day for the American.
Ray says it also bears mentioning that the vast majority of equipment America is investing into Ukraine is either 20-year-old tech or explosives that are about to expire. I don't know if people understand how much military, like, excess we have. Like, there are plants and stuff that produce munitions and stuff that don't get used just because they think it's cheaper to keep the plants open in case something happened. than to restart a new plant and then not have one. We have a lot of military surplus. It's fine.
American system, okay? That you know what? It really does try to operate. There is a
gearbox,
a fairness to it where we really do aspire that nobody is above the law.
I really think that if you look at this case, what is the big picture here? It's not a drug addict who possessed a gun for 2 weeks.
It's the fact that he lied on the form. Lennon Cat says, so when I was in the military, I was trained as a Chinese linguist, and that required learning a lot about Chinese politics. China surrounds Taiwan every summer in a lead up to August 1st, which is a national holiday that commemorates the Nanchang Uprising and essentially the founding of the People's Liberation Army. They do this every single year as a show of force. It's almost entirely ceremonial. Gotcha.
Is that you have a president of the United States who is living embodiment of the rule of law, even with respect to his only living
so hopefully I don't forget. Put it in that tab.
Son.
The law applies to everybody, and it is fair, and it is done by jurors from the community who weigh the evidence, the facts that aren't political.
The way that's supposed to work.
Don't be fooled.
He does sound like Bill Maher, doesn't he?
No, those are all lies, and those are all allies of the...
Very unbiased news source. Those are all lies! I fucking love how bad Newsmax is.
Although Chuck Todd may lose his invitation to the White House.
Newsmax is just a network from the RoboCop universe that somehow breached into our own. Honestly incredible.
Party this year. The only reason Hunter, the convicted felon Biden, was even... on trial in the first place is because...
I'm sorry, I'm just enjoying how salty they are. I don't give a shit about Hunter Biden. It's so funny that they're trying to be like, see, he's a convicted felon. Not Trump. He's a convicted felon. They both are. They both are.
A lone federal judge went against the Democrats and called nonsense on the insane sweetheart plea deal orchestrated by the Joseph Biden Department of Justice that would have thrown out...
And he broke the plea deal, right? And then he went on trial and now he's guilty. That's how it's supposed to work. He was given a plea deal. He broke the plea deal. He was brought back in. He was tried, found guilty. Yep, that's how it works.
Out this whole case. The liberal media, and that's most of them, of course, conveniently forgets that and leaves it out. Even more significantly, perhaps, this conviction barely scratches the surface of the Biden family allegations, of which there are many. Hunter Biden...
I bet there are a lot of allegations. This one was proven. Got any more?
Should be on trial for a multitude of much more serious alleged crimes. He's been accused of money laundering, influence peddling, operating as an unregistered foreign agent in violation of the FARA Act, all to make millions of dollars from, well, for the most part, our foreign adversaries.
You have any evidence of that? You're just going to say it.
The FBI...
Benigami says the Hunter Biden conviction and the cope around it is proof that any stat the conservatives are happier and mentally healthier than left-leaning people is either a lie or just evidence the right-wing people are more delusional about their own mental health than the average person. Yeah, that's generally how I've read those polls, is that they don't recognize their own mental health issues, and their mental health issues tend to be things like delusions of grandeur or narcissism, as opposed to things like depression or anxiety. So they don't recognize them as such, or if they do have depression or anxiety, they don't recognize them. Like my dad, for instance, who's a Trump supporter, haven't talked to him in years. He outright told me many times growing up he doesn't think mental health is real. Like, not that he doesn't trust psychiatry, he doesn't think mental health is a real thing. He said that to me. Like, this is the opinion of a lot of these people.
Has a laptop full of evidence against Hunter Biden. They've had it for a very long time. Yet, conveniently, he's been convicted of the one thing that doesn't lead back to Joe Biden, isn't that?
Yeah, this had evidence. Get evidence of the other things if you think they're true, and then he'll be charged.
That's fascinating. Joe Biden released a statement today saying, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal.
Yep. If it was Trump, he would have pardoned his kid immediately, because Trump is a corrupt piece of shit.
Got to have an appeal, I think. Joe Biden has previously claimed that he wouldn't pardon Hunter, the convicted felon Biden, if convicted.
Which is the right thing to do.
Well, we'll see if he keeps his word on that one. What we do know is that Hunter Biden...
The judge negated the plea deal. Okay. My bad then.
Became the sacrificial lamb to give the Biden's political Department of Justice the appearance of impartiality going into the election.
Incredible just watching blatant propaganda that other people take seriously, and it's like hilarious, borderline campy in like how over the top the rhetoric is, but people take this seriously.
He will
Scary.
Evade any serious punishment, no doubt, because, you know, this is all part of the plan. The Biden campaign will use this conviction from now until Election Day, certainly, to claim that this somehow solidifies and justifies the Trump
Remember when Trump pardoned Bannon for robbing his supporters? Yeah, and I think Bannon's going back to jail soon for something else. Don't remember what it is.
Conviction in New York as fair. But the truth is, both of these trials were politically motivated, and that's why Americans will continue to have no faith in the justice system.
The prescriptive language is so interesting to me. Horrifying. Strange that the watchers of it regularly don't pick up on the fact that they're being told very aggressively what to believe through the wording. Interesting. Penekagami says, but they clearly are depressed even if they are narcissistic because, hey, here they're being unable to be happy about a thing they wanted happening. In fact, they're actively arguing themselves to be miserable about it. This is deep depression-like behavior. I guess I could see that. Wonder how do people like your dad square people who are completely divorced with reality, like talking to the wall and hearing voices and such? I don't know. I don't know. He was Catholic. Maybe demons? What else? What? Oof. Remember Joe Arpaio? Terrible human being who should be in jail.
If you could...
Catalina Gearbox says, one thing I'm confused about is how can they use the laptop when they never got a warrant for it? It was stolen from Hunter. That's... the chain of custody on the alleged laptop is so insane, it could never be used for anything.
Imagine your ideal way of working.
Very
What would it
strange.
look like? Monday.com can make...
Welcome back in. So the Biden border crisis continues to run rampant at our southern
Biden border crisis
and northern borders. In places like Vermont, it's really bad and really unusual as illegals continue to pour in. Unofficial Border Patrol numbers.
Ooh, citing Breitbart. Now that's journalism.
Reported in May, migrant apprehensions at the northern border were over 3,000 in May alone. That is an all-time record. And in just 3 sectors, 3 little areas.
Like, that's not a lot of people. 3,000 in a month? That doesn't seem like a lot of people for a nation of 330-something million.
At our southern border, the border
Joe Arpaio, the sheriff with concentration camps, that's the one.
Patrol says we're now averaging 2,600 migrant apprehensions a day. That's a number that we never saw under Trump and we never saw under Obama. And within the last 6 months, we've had over 1 million illegal border crossings at this rate. And with Biden's new record, we will have close to 3 million new illegals by the end of this year on top of the 10 million or
so like 0.33% of the entire U.S. population. Not very much.
So that are already here. We don't know because you can't count gotaways. Joe Biden can shut down the border at any time he chooses.
What does that mean? We're gonna put a laser grid up. Like, what do you mean? He can push a button, close border. No? What are you talking about? God damn. I don't think the collective intelligence of Newsmax viewers could boil water. What are we doing?
Not to. That's a fact. Joining me now for more, Maricopa County Sheriff and candidate for mayor of Fountain Hills, Arizona, Joe.
Is he running for mayor? Isn't he like 90?
Arpaio. It's so nice to have you on this evening. I'm just wondering if you can explain to me, I mean, I know the northern border is like 5,000 miles long. It's enormous. How are all of these migrants getting to—
Oh my God, they're complaining about the Canadian border.
Canada.
Trey says, I have a friend that got away with a failed drug test in the military because chain of custody was broken for 25 minutes. Convenient.
And then finding places to cross over in states like Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont.
Because I'll tell you why.
Because it's one of the largest contiguous borders in the world.
He's arresting them. That goes from the government down to sheriffs and law enforcement. There are laws out there that you can utilize, but no one is enforcing those laws. So we have a real open border, believe me.
Believe me.
Just doesn't make much sense. So they have to somehow, we're talking about people from, not from Mexico, people from, they have to cross an ocean. And I'm assuming they fly to a place like Montreal or Quebec or Ottawa. And then on foot, they walk to our northern border to a crossing point to someplace in the woods. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No one is.
I don't understand why he thinks that doesn't make a lot of sense. If people are desperate and want to go to a place where they think they're going to have an opportunity for a job to make money for themselves or their family or to have a better future for whatever reason, that makes sense to me. Like, I understand that mentality.
Enforcing a law. I was the regional director.
Yeah,
in
Trump did pardon Arpaio.
Mexico. I can go on and on. They are not arresting anybody. And that's the U.S. authorities also.
What are you talking about? People get deported all the time. Benekagami says, and that's ignoring the fact that despite so many people claiming to have seen it, suspiciously they never actually showed the laptop. Almost like the laptop was actually a bunch of hacked files someone, Russia, stole from Hunter that conservatives had to explain their possession of. Yeah, basically they got his dick pics and a picture of him getting a foot job while eating a piece of pizza, which is not illegal. Maybe not sanitary, but not illegal.
They do have the laws. To this day, they can do it.
Yeah.
That makes me angry.
Let me play the latest attack ad, and I want to talk about this. This is aimed at you directly and Donald Trump and your friendship with the former president. Take a look.
Well, you know, they called you KKK. They did me. I think it's an honor, right?
Immigration sweeps.
He thinks it's an honor to be called a member of the KKK. Lovely.
Latino neighborhoods, workplace raids, and the alleged targeting of Latinos during traffic stops landed Arpaio in court.
Immigration stops were unconstitutional and absolutely racial profiled anyone with brown skin.
The U.S. District Judge finds former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio guilty of criminal contempt.
Joe, what's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, Donald Trump is the only hero I ever had in my life, and
That's incredibly depressing. I don't believe him, but that's incredibly depressing if it were true.
He's had a long life, I'll tell you right now. And he's got a heart. He's called my wife 8 times when she had cancer.
Okay. I'm sure Hitler, like, again, I know we're Godwin's lying, but yeah, we're gonna use an extreme example. Hitler had friends. Can people stop thinking just because someone has been friendly to you personally that makes them a good person? That's not how anything works.
And I was in trial for a Mickey Mouse allegation, racial profile by a very biased federal judge. No jury, nothing. It was a hang deal. So, you know, he's my guy. I was with him in July 2015.
Criminals sticking together. What are you gonna do? Radiology says in the UK, the right-wing press are pushing a similar crisis and we have a natural fucking moat surrounding us. There isn't any border small and secure enough for racists. It's a scapegoat. They want to blame all their problems on an other so they don't have to look at systemic issues.
And I will always...
Or wealthy donors intentionally try and put stories in front of them to create scapegoats so they don't look at the issue of income inequality and why it exists.
Be with them. You can put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, 9 years later, you're still with him. Joe Biden, in that executive order last week, what did you make of that?
What order? I can't even figure out what he's saying. I met Biden when I was a Federal Drug Administration many years ago he was a good guy then. He was tough on crime. That was the early 80s. But what's happened today? He's not tough on crime today.
People realized that tough on crime rhetoric was pretty fucking racist and ended up just harming marginalized communities and othering black communities in particular by framing them as criminals.
Things have changed. We got to get Trump back into that office.
And what are you hearing on the ground out there in Arizona? Does Trump have a chance in battleground Arizona?
Of course he does. He has a chance everywhere, and he's going to be reelected, and watch out. We're going to go back to the good times and do something for this country.
Yeah.
Yikes, that had some stank on it.
We're
going to go back to the good times.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Joe. I appreciate you being on with us this evening. Thank you for that. Keep fighting. Joe Arpaio, thank you.
Fuck off. I remember another story about my dad. There was something on TV that he watched that was like a documentary that showed Joe Arpaio's jail. And if you don't know, a lot of it was like outside, and he made the prisoners wear like pink jumpsuits to try and be like, haha, you're a bunch of sissies, and like treated them badly, and they didn't get treated fair. I remember my dad watching this and thinking it was fucking hilarious. My dad fucking loves Joe Arpaio. Radiology says, oh, and we also filled that moat with raw sewage, so desperate refugees are literally drowning in our shit when their boats overturn. Consensus in the press is that they have it too good. Yeah, UK tabloids really seem to be a big problem for you guys. This guy have to say.
The news I'm about to share with you actually really surprised me, considering the fact that the members of the jury were acquaintances with the Biden family, former Secret Service members, and...
What are you talking about? You can't be an acquaintance of someone and be on a jury for them.
You know, all around liberals. Hunter Biden was convicted on all charges today in his pew-pew crimes. This is kind of a shock to me, because I really...
Yeah, kind of flies in the face of your worldview, doesn't it? Funny how that works.
...really expected.
You fight reality. You're fighting a losing fight. It does not relent.
...him to get acquitted just because he is the son of the sitting president and... the guy running for office, and this is well, it's good news. Let's read a little bit about this from Breitbart. Jury finds Hunter Biden
again. Breitbart, classy.
Biden guilty of all 3 gun charges. A Delaware jury on Tuesday.
Breitbart is about 2 steps away from the Daily Stormer. For those who aren't familiar. Benekagami says, wait a minute, this is the guy that story's from? A proud member of the Klan? Oh, well, somehow my opinion of my pet MAGA just dropped. Arizona says, once again, the goalpost has relocated itself. It does that.
They found Hunter Biden guilty on all 3 gun charges after only several hours of deliberating. The historic
yeah, he was very guilty.
Verdict of the president's son reflects Hunter's high-stakes gamble to go to trial instead of accepting a revised plea deal proposed in the summer of 2023. Hunter faces up to 25 years in prison and $750,000 of files. I think it means fines. Breitbart, get an editor. Court filings say there is typically a 2 to 3 month delay between conviction and sentencing in the federal system. We don't yet know what the sentencing guidelines would be if he's convicted on all counts, NBC News reported, but one legal expert said they...
Radiology says 2 goose steps away from the Daily Stormer, you mean...
likely would specify around a year in prison. I am betting, even though I was wrong on the fact that he would get...
Honestly, I kind of hope, to be clear, I hope whatever... punishment is given to Hunter Biden is in line with his crime. However, politically, it would be pretty funny if he went to jail and then Republicans had to act like the justice system was completely biased against Trump, even though they also put Hunter in jail. I don't know. I think it would be funny. They've been complaining about Hunter for years. So him going to jail would be funny, because what are you going to say? He went to jail. Yep, you complained about him, and now he's in jail.
Convicted entirely, that he will probably end up getting just a fine, a little bit of a slap on the wrist, because he's the president's son. There is also a distinct possibility.
Now I have that song stuck in my head. My day with the president's daughter. My day with her.
That Biden could.
Guy from Boy Meets World was in it. It was a Disney movie.
Pardon Hunter, but that may not happen unless Joe loses the election. It's hard to know for sure what's going to happen at this point. Everything is kind of up in the air, but this is not going to bode well for Biden. And, there is potentially some theory that this could be damaging to him, to the point where they'll remove Joe from the race. I'll go ahead and state
I find that incredibly difficult to believe. I don't think it affects at all.
That I stand by my prediction that they can't pull Joe. They're
like, Hunter isn't running for president? Joe Biden is. Do you know that? And Trump was convicted of felonies himself. What?
There's nothing they can do to pull Joe Biden from this race at this point. They'll just deflect and say that Hunter's crimes are not Joe's crimes, and
which is an objective fact. In what way do you think Joe Biden is culpable for his son lying on a gun background check form? You think Joe was there going, lie on it, fucking lie? Seems like it was Hunter's thing.
And that he needs to serve his time, and no one is above the law. And, it might be a good political play, unfortunately.
I mean, it's also just the right thing to do, is to be like, yep.
Hunter's gun trial judge, Mary Ellen Noriega. Is that how that's pronounced? Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat or the comments, whatever. Recently delivered a 1-year sentence to a defendant on a similar gun case, although that defendant was not the son of the sitting president.
Again, that shouldn't matter at all. Like, I understand, like, priors or lack thereof, like, the individual's own history mattering, but their identity should be irrelevant. Andronicus Khan with 100 bits says, Trump and Hunter become cellmates would be a great sitcom. I'd watch it. Rageology with 100 bits says, hype, and kicks off a hype train. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate bits and gift subs. They help the channel run. I couldn't do this show without it, so thank you. I appreciate it, and if people could participate in the train, always appreciate it.
Defense asked for a 6-month sentence, but Noriega gave him 1.
Can we get Jared Kushner on trial? That'd be nice.
Year. The government charged Hunter with 1 count of false statement in the purchase of a firearm, 1 count of possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance, and 1 count of false statement related to information required to be kept by a federal firearms licensed dealer, basically lying on the form. Hunter used a specific drug when he purchased the firearm in 2018.
Crack?
According to
or was it cocaine? Was he addicted to crack? I feel like he's wealthy enough that he could do cocaine.
A wide variety of photos.
Daphne Sack, thanks for gifting 3 tier 1 subs.
From
Humiliated Grapes, thanks for 1,000 bits. Much appreciated.
The time on his abandoned laptop, which we were told by multiple intel sources who should lose their clearance and go to prison, that it was not Hunter's laptop. Turns out it was.
What do you mean it turns out it was? You just keep saying things. Tea with Goblin says, itsy bitsy teeny weeny monies for the Chudfield streamy.
And
thank you. 41% to level 2.
The gun was found discarded in the public trash can next to a school. The Secret Service allegedly intervened in the investigation of that incident. That is also a very big problem. But it doesn't end there. You see, the Trump campaign is coming out as well. This is also from Breitbart News, saying that it's just a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family. And
I love the Biden crime family shit. Hilarious. Gitara says, whoa, wait, is this the guy's cope that Hunter Biden had to be found guilty because this case was a psyop by leftist cabal to project the idea that America's justice system isn't rigged against Trump? Correct. That's the general consensus amongst right-wingers currently. Hydrate.
That, I think, is the actual point of this. I think that
this laptop will be encrypted long after we're gone. It's going to become like some sort of holy like MacGuffin within whatever becomes the religion of like Trump and the QAnon stuff. They'll be like, after Trump dies, they won't accept it, and they'll be like, one day, Trump will return, descend from the heavens with Hunter's laptop, and save us all.
Joe is going to let this stand to say, look, justice has been served, but those are Hunter.
I also love that they think that Biden is an incompetent person whose, like, brain doesn't work, but also the head of a criminal organization that operates internationally. Makes sense. Nemesaur coming in again. You are so awesome, Nemesaur. Thank you so much for 20 tier 1 subs. Thank you so much, getting people the ability to watch without ads, supporting the show so it can keep going. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. 28% to level 5. Hydrate.
Hunter's crimes, not my crimes. Go look at him. He has been punished for all of the things. Now Donald Trump can't say that Biden is above the law.
I mean, yeah. Yep. Correct. Phyllis Filler, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Bumble Homestead with 100 bits says, I helped. Thank you.
Without acknowledging that Joe Biden has been influence peddling for decades. Hunter Biden's guilty verdict is a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family, Trump campaign National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement following the conviction. Biden family members and...
Harold Doubleman says, I see it more as a cursed relic like the cup Judas drank from at the Last Supper, the dark chalice, the unholy grail, etc. Flower Sheeps, thanks for gifting a sub. 85% to level 5.
Biden business-linked entities received more than $15 million from individuals in Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, Romania, and China, according to the House impeachment.
Unstable Deadbeat, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. What a generous day for gift subs. Thank you, everyone. I know I hate ads, so I'm sure everyone getting gift subs appreciates it, and I do as well. Stone Corbell says, sad thing is, according to the current doctrine of the Justice Department, Joe Biden is above the law as the current seated president. I think that's fucked up.
Inquiry.
I don't agree with that, for the record.
Crooked Joe Biden's reign over the Biden family criminal empire is all coming to an end on November 5th, and never again will a Biden sell government access for personal profit, Leavitt said. A Delaware jury on Tuesday found Hunter guilty on all 3 gun charges after only several hours of deliberation. And that's... Okay, hang on. One of the biggest deals came when the Biden's family members accepted money from CEFC, China Energy Co., an organization with close ties to the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, every company in China has close ties to the Chinese Communist Party. That's how the Chinese Communist Party works.
The House Oversight Committee...
Is their entire thing basically they've done business internationally? Because so is Trump. Like, Trump's kids took $2 billion from the Saudis. Like, is their entire argument, oh my goodness, these people who are involved in international business deals are doing international business deals? That's the whole thing? Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious. Rageology says, I found these bits under the chair cushions. They're covered in fluff and smell of farts, and now they're yours. Thank you. I'll try and knock out the farts.
Revealed in 2023 that they controlled the State Energy HK Limited, a company linked to $1.3 million collective payments to the Biden family members. That, I think, is one of the biggest reasons they may not have actually interfered in the case to try and deflect, bury this crime. Look, Hunter's already in prison. We don't need to add insult to injury, but...
That's not how anything works. Again, if you have evidence of actual crimes, by all means, charge people, but you can't just manufacture it. Benekagami says, people like this think that they can just say shit and are supposed to be taken seriously, and they don't understand the reason no one listens to them is that most of the stuff they say is the equivalent of some Karen saying that firefighters should put her house fire out with vegetable oil because of the article her upline showed her. And the best part is, they'll never be able to explain how that situation is different than the ivermectin thing.
They're gonna do it anyway.
No, he hasn't been sentenced yet.
A Breitbart, in a case of turnabout is fair play, convicted felon.
Do these right-wingers like capitalism or not? They're condemning the Bidens for engaging in capitalism. They like their version of American capitalism where you only do business with Americans. They are scared of people from other countries, especially China, because of the Red Scare. So therefore they go, ah, this is bad. They're not concerned about the excess collection of capital at the top of the economic pyramid, as much as they're worried about what the people at the top of the pyramid look like.
Ellen Biden disappointed about guilty verdict. We're not going to read the whole article. I just wanted you to see that wonderful headline right there because it is absolutely hilarious and well-deserved. Good job, Joe. You raised a moron. This is the guy who allegedly is the most powerful man in the world.
I don't know if he raised a moron. He raised someone who struggled with drug addiction. Happens to a lot of people.
I guess Donald Trump is going to get the last laugh both today and in November. Let me know what you think in the comments. Then head over to my locals page, thearthurnix.locals.com, for exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. Till next time, thanks for watching.
Terrible. Minute left on the hype train. Nice to see that they're still trying to move the goalposts since the Hunter Biden thing. What's next? Oh, this is kind of weird, in just that this guy is like the most obvious con artist in the history of con artists. 30 seconds on the hype train.
Obama was my college classmate at Columbia, class of '83.
I'm definitely not a scam artist. I was in college the same year as him, so obviously I have secret information about the former president. I'm wearing a pinstripe suit. I look like a Dick Tracy villain, but please take me seriously. Joan Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub.
The mass censorship and silencing of conservatives on social media has Obama's fingerprints all over it. Obama has dirty ex-FBI and ex-CIA operatives filling all the important roles at social media companies, even a company.
God damn, his background is a Where's Waldo of really embarrassing things, also. Multiple photos with Trump, a Trump license plate, a bunch of Trump books, what appears to be an Oscar of some kind, a sword, which is pretty great, an American flag on the far left with, I think, gold fringes, so I guess this is an Admiralty court.
Like X, owned by conservative hero Elon Musk, censors and shadow bans every word that I say. How can this be? Because Elon owns X, formerly Twitter, but he doesn't control it. The same communist traitors are running the show as before Elon took over, and they all answer to Obama.
Obama... This is like constructed in a lab to make your racist uncle upset. Obama's who got you suspended from Twitter for posting racist memes. Who's this idiot? Flat Top, I think is what Tracy calls him. Sorry, Dick Tracy jokes aren't funny in 2024.
The disastrous Green New Deal has Obama's fingerprints all over it. Green energy is a fraud.
He just needs a mustache and then we can get him pictures of Spider-Man! Obama!
It leads to exploding electric and gas bills in order to wipe out the great American middle class. Energy rates are now the highest in this nation's history. This pattern started under Obama. It was so bad back in Obama's first term that I wrote the nationwide #1 bestseller, The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide. Today we're experiencing Obama on steroids. Don't forget
Joe Biden is Obama on steroids. His wife has 2 dicks.
Democrats comparing Trump to Hitler. It's all the strategy of Saul Alinsky, who was Obama's mentor. Obama bases his whole agenda on Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. Alinsky advised to isolate, ostracize, demonize, and destroy your political enemy. Any lie, fraud, or slander is acceptable because, as Alinsky said, the ends justify the means. The COVID vaccine
This is available over the airwaves in Central Ohio. Good God.
Mandates and vaccine passports had Obama's fingerprints all over them.
Wow, they're really just blaming Obama for things years after. Racist brainworms are just the worst, apparently. Poor goddamn shitbags.
The COVID vaccine continues to injure and kill thousands of Americans daily.
No, it doesn't. There's no evidence of that. Good God.
Including so many of my friends and associates. Trump supported the vaccine in order to save the U.S. economy, and I understand that. But he never mandated it, and he never will. But of course, this communist takeover...
Wait, if you think it's bad, how would it save the U.S. economy? That doesn't make sense.
...coordinated by Obama, forced this experimental emergency use only vaccine upon every working man and woman in America, which violated the Nuremberg Code. So
the Nuremberg Code. Wow, this is like real bad, huh? Gonna save this channel. Yeesh. Doop boo doop boo doop boop. Don't know if there's much else. Maybe we'll just end with some brief right-wing watch videos.
This is Jeremiah 23, verse 4.
It's just random clips of right-wingers doing or saying out there things.
I will place shepherds over them who will tend them, and they will no longer be afraid or terrified, nor will any be missing, declares the Lord. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up David, a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely and do what is just and right in the land. When I read that, I knew he was speaking prophetically of Donald Trump.
The Bible doesn't mention Donald Trump, fun fact.
He's saying, I am going to put Donald Trump back in. No matter how many rise against him. Oh, no matter how many...
Why is this guy just standing here, hovering over her? It's making me a little uncomfortable. Like, the whole thing's uncomfortable. The weird flag in the background, what the fuck's that about? But what's this guy's deal? What's he doing? Also, he has tattoos, which the Bible says is wickedness. So, sinner.
False indictments are put against him, no matter how much opposition. If I am for him, who or what could be against him? Right. Oh, I've called him, I've chosen him. He is a righteous man. He's a man with a heart after my heart. Oh, he's gone through trial after trial after trial. And has not turned his back on me. Is God going to be faithful to him? You bet.
I do not know about that flag, so if someone knows, let me know. I've not seen it. I'm sure it's something fucked up. I assumed it was, but I don't know.
And you got to remember something that was happening. There has been legislative arguing going on about winner take all, the electoral being changed. It's no coincidence that within a week...
Zach, thanks Harold Ebbleman for the link. Let me... Ugh. Oh, that looks bloody.
Of that being discussed.
Alito's wife flew it, as did the January 6thers.
Yeah. That this thing shows
I knew about the Alito flag thing, but I didn't know it was that flag. I hadn't seen a picture of it.
Up in Lincoln, for those of you that are listening and watching, is the capital of Nebraska.
That's true.
Omaha is where...
Pine tree flag. Bottom paragraphs. My kind of paragraphs. Also used by liberty activists and enthusiasts of the American Revolution to commemorate the Pine Tree Riot, one of the first acts of resistance by the American colonists to British royal authority, eventually culminating in the American Revolution. In the 2020s... The flag was flown at events attended by various far-right groups, including Christian nationalist strand of Donald Trump's Stop the Steal movement. In May 2024, news outlets reported that the flag had been flown at the vacation home of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito in 2023. This drew media attention because of the flag's use by Stop the Steal supporters. The justice stated his wife had displayed the flag, referred to the historic background of the symbol, and refused to recuse himself from cases related to President Trump.
This
What a joke.
legislative, you could maybe speak to that, Terry, what's happening. I think they're connected because you're going to see from one of the prophecies, God talks about tornadic, and then he says, even regarding your election process.
Yeah, well, and when we had that Charlie Kirk event, they said that was actually one of the largest Republican events they'd had so far this year, that we had here.
Wow.
Here. So, again, you find it interesting that we had the tornado in Omaha, and then in Lincoln, that's where actually it's the Capitol, and that's also where the legislature meets. So when they're in session, that's where all the laws are being made in Lincoln. That's where Supreme Court.
I'm sorry, are they literally saying that tornadoes are being caused by wickedness? Great. Glad this is where we're at. Glad we're at the place where people are attributing weather events to morality. Love that for us.
What's your relationship with God like, and how do you pray? That's Sharon from Alabama.
Okay, so I think it's good. I do very well with the evangelicals. I love the evangelicals.
That's not what was asked at all. This question is not about... What?
And I have more people saying they pray for me. I can't even believe it. And they are so...
He was asked about his personal relationship with religion, and he started talking about how other people flatter him with their religious practice. Oh boy.
Committed, and they're so believing. They say, sir, you're going to be okay. I pray for you every night. I mean, everybody, almost, I can't say everybody, but almost everybody that sees me, they say it. It's such a beautiful thing. You know what's a beautiful...
Benekagami says, we laugh at J. Jonah Jameson, but he's surprisingly a deep character. A lot of side content suggests that the primary reason that he treats Spider-Man the way he does are a general distrust of the powerful and the fact that Peter is literally a faceless man. So Jonah doesn't connect, he's human. Many side stories have Peter unmasked, have Jonah becoming contrite, especially if it's a story that forced him to face the harm he's caused. Plus, he does believe in the truth and integrity of journalism. Yeah, I know that. I've read enough that I know. But I like I kind of like the cartoony, flat version of Jonah sometimes. I like the get me pictures of Spider-Man. But I know, I've read the stuff where he is cool with Peter. I also understand his contention with vigilante justice. Like, in the real world, I'm against vigilante justice, and the idea of people wearing masks to obscure their identity, going out and extrajudicially doing things, that would be a problem in the real world. So I get it. The fiction, though. So you're supposed to think he's wrong, because Spider-Man's a good guy. You know?
Beautiful thing, too, when you look at all of this bad stuff going on, they have nothing to look up to. They have no God. They have no anything. They kill people, they beat people, they push people into subways. There's just nothing there. Religion is such a great thing.
Who is he even talking about?
It keeps you, there's something to be good about. You want to be good. You want to, it's so important, and I don't know if it's explained right. I don't know if I'm explaining it right now, but when you have something like that, you want to be good. You want to go to heaven, okay? You want to go to heaven. If you don't have heaven, you almost say, what's the reason? Yeah. Why do I have to be good? Let's not be good. What difference does it make?
If the only reason you do good or don't do evil is because of heaven or hell, you are a scary, terrible person, and I want you to stay away from me forever, you fucking sick fuck. What the fuck? Ugh. Trying to see if there's a cleanse or something, because this has just been a rough one.
Hi, Beanie Babies. Beanie lover, Beanie Babies, all things Beanie. Beanie Mania, Beanie Mom website, and Beanie Baby beanies. Beanie Mom website, the Beanie Collector magazine, Beanie Mania book, Beanie Mania bulletin, beanies.
Beanie Babies, beanies, Beanie Babies, Beanie Baby.
Beanies.
Beanies, beanies.
Beanies.
Beijing, Beanie Babies, Beanie Baby, Beanie Babies. Beanies, beanies. Beanie Babies, beanies. Beanie Babies, Beijing.
Beanie Babies, China?
Beanie Baby, China. From China, Beanie Baby. China.
Well, why should we care? Why should we care at beanies?
The Beanie Babies, $100,000. Beanies, Beanie Baby.
Beanie Baby.
Beanie Babies, Beanie Baby, or Beanie. Beanie Babies, Beanie Babies. Beanies, Beanie Mania.
Beanie Mom website.
Beanie Babies, beanies, Beanie Baby. Beanie Mom website.
Beanies.
Beanie Baby, Beanie Baby, Beanie Baby, Beanie Babies. Beanie Babies, Beanie Baby, Beanie Baby. Beanie Baby, Beanie Baby. Beanie Baby, it's Beanie Baby, Beanie Baby, Beanie Baby.
Beanie Baby.
Beanie Babies. Beanie Babies, Beanie Baby, Beanie Baby.
Looks like a bad car seat.
Yeah, it does, that's right. Yeah, it does. Beanie Baby, Beanie Baby. Beanie Baby.
Beanie.
Beanie Babies.
Beanie Babies.
Beanies. China.
Beanie Baby. Beanie Baby.
Your Beanie Baby.
Beanies. Beanie Babies. Have fun collecting Beanie Babies.
That was lovely. That was absolutely lovely. Let's watch my favorite creepy video from them, and then we'll do that raid. What are you doing? I don't want to do a goddamn survey! Which one of these brands would you consider buying from? Groove Life, Grip 6, Qualo, Ridge? I don't even know what these are. Skip ad.
Okay, our performance tonight is based on the 7 deadly sins of The Simpsons.
These are the creatures I find in my horrifying liminal dreams.
Choose to link The Simpsons to the 7 deadly sins as your theme.
No one seems to really want to watch goody-goody shows and things like that don't have at least one deadly sin.
It has really opened our eyes as to what children are watching on simple cartoon shows, for example, The Simpsons. It's not always a good message or a good moral coming through, and parents need to realise this before they let their children watch it.
Deadly sin, deadly sin, deadly sin, deadly sin.
Here we go now.
Anyway, so tomorrow we're doing VHS Vault, so come hang out for that. Alright. Have a great night, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, we're gonna do VHS Vault. It's gonna be really good. I'm gonna finally hook up my VHS, and we're gonna watch tapes that I actually collected from, like, thrift stores. So, like, weird old Christian, like, video cartoons, stuff people recorded, this weird Huckleberry Finn cartoon. So, it'll be a good one. If you want to see the inaugural VHS Vault stream where we actually have our own VHS, make sure you come check out tomorrow. See you then, everyone. Have a great night. Love you, Mr. Blast, and I'll see the rest of you soon. Adios.